Welcome back into the PPL, guys. Of course, now I'm here on the desk. I was able to manage to fight my way past security. They didn't want to let me back here, but now I'm on the desk, thankfully. And fortunately, Kresnik, they had to sit him here with me to make sure I didn't do.
Man, I would have let you in.
I mean, yeah, true. I mean, yeah. Sorry.
You didn't need to leave those people unconscious. We'll deal with it after this.
I mean, hey, man. I mean, dude, you gotta do what you gotta do. At the same time, this upcoming match, Knights versus Na'Vi, I'm really, really excited for this one because, of course, Na'Vi being the top #1 spot now, and Knights traditionally not having so great of a record against them.
Yeah, I mean, coming from the 7th seed to the 1st seed, you wouldn't think that. But, I mean, the changes we've talked about on the Knights, I guess not even changes at this point, just the Knights. Simsalou has had good success against Na'Vi. Look back to MSI, Penta with a dominating performance against them in the first round, and they're definitely going to want to capture that. It didn't happen earlier in this phase, but maybe some of the adaptation over time, growth with the team might be enough for them to bottle that lightning and figure out how they can take Na'Vi down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, clearly the changes that it is have worked. I mean, you talk about like the fact that they've changed teammates, and of course they have. I mean, Zarini, Simsalou, both of them being a great addition to PK, to the Pittsburgh Knights. And I mean, they've been showing up too, and the rest of PK I feel like has become pretty much the better of it just a little bit. And of course, you know, I always think whenever it is I see PK, I always think of Zarini, their frontliner, because we see how aggressive he can be, just really how he plays to the strengths of PK and how the rest of the team are able to adapt around him too.
Yeah, having going from an NA point tank to an EU point tank, it's a very different, I think, style of play, and I think it's gone well for the Knights once they kind of got the hang of how they wanted to do it. They're a little more execution heavy, I would say, now in how they like to play, and it's a good look. It's a good look across the board for them, I think. That's kind of when G-Bunny was back on Splice. This is a bit of a throwback, but that was something that they like to do on pushes sometimes. That was how they like to set up some of their plays, and it pays off. It really does, I think, for the team as a whole.
Right. I mean, once again, Zarini, after this around the current few matches it is that we've seen him bringing out the Terminus, and they've brought it out for more than one map. They brought it out for, immediately. Yeah, Kresnik, super happy about that one in this case. But really, it's just a matter of being able to recognize the fact that they're able to draft some new things. They're able to draft some new things. They're able to bring out the best in them. However, we have a video that we did with them, an interview to see what their thoughts are on this upcoming matchup. Last time we spoke to the Pittsburgh Knights, we sat down with Ricard about his opinions of the upcoming split with the new Knights. We met with them again to discuss how the new lineup has adjusted over the last 10 weeks.
Our growth since the beginning of the split has been, I would say, in one word, exponential.
It's good to see that there is still things to improve on, right? We haven't hit like a ceiling. We're improving week to week. There's always new things that we can work on, and there's new things that like we kind of figure out as a team, as in like valuable picks, like Terminus being one of them, and we have a few other pocket picks that are coming in. But it seems like nothing is slowing down right now, and we're just like going straight up the mountain, basically.
It's definitely new to me that a roster can have like an inconsistency curve where it's like they have good days and really bad days, and it's just like a heartbeat curve where it's just like you don't know where the next charge is just gonna leave. Like maybe it's a good day, bad day.
The house dynamic's fine. Sometimes it gets a little too loud in the gaming room. I'm an old man, so I like my P and Q outside of scrim time. But no, everybody's rowdy, having a good time, and there's never a dull moment in the Knights house.
It doesn't feel too different actually compared to being at home. It's just more you're living with them 24/7. So that means that when you're talking with them, you're talking face to face, which means a lot of the times when you feed criticism, it takes quite literally to the heart way more.
So the housing situation's it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more crammed now, right? Obviously, we have less room because we had a whole entire another person. But I think the Europeans are getting pretty used to like how we run things right now in the house, and it's been pretty good.
With personality settling into the house and the world's meta locked in, the Knights feel as if the recent update complements their playstyle.
So coming into the new meta, I think we're always going to be really good at adapting as a team. It's just kind of like how the feeling I get from like the 5 players. I feel like we're very open to try stuff, and we're open to do something that seems dumb at the moment, but could be really good.
Well, Torb being out's a funny thing, right? I think the new meta, the new shift in meta, is going to be really big for all the teams but Nip. Nip's a scary team with Torvald. Everybody else kind of just sprinkles him in. We never sprinkle him in, so we're very happy with the Torvald ban. So this patch, I feel like this patch only helps us. So
This next patch seems like it's just a bonus for us. It basically just got rid of Torvald, or made him like a lot less valuable. We were already good against Torvald, but playing with Torvald, you could say we were a little bit shaky, but with this new patch, I'm really confident.
I know that there's going to be a new permanent ban, you know? I don't know if there's any special pocket picks, but Willow is the new Torvald, so that's a thing. You won't see Willow that much this patch.
Permaban Willow.
With Worlds right around the corner, how a team approaches wins or losses is more important than ever. With that in mind, the Knights learned a lot about how the new players affected their mentality as the weeks went on.
I think the biggest difference with the new group of guys is the mentality of, and Simsaloo brought this on, we're playing best of ones, guys. It's a best of 5, best of 7, whatever it is. We're always thinking about a best of 1. So I think Simsaloo coming in with that mindset, giving us that mindset, helps me a lot. I truly believe it. You know, I go into the next game. We could have just got 4-0'd. We could have just, you know, had the longest games of our lives. It's a best of 1, guys. All right, let's reset. Let's keep going, and that's the best mindset to have.
I definitely would say people still have like a losing mentality just from the previous team they were in. Well, they were still technically in Knights, but previous players and so on. And it's nothing you really can do about it. You just have to kind of win against those teams that they have that mentality. I think definitely against the top 4 teams right now, those probably are always the teams that people will have their doubts, and that's something you kind of just have to go through. There's nothing you really can talk about it, do about it. It's just hope that they're confident in their own capabilities and just hope that you get the dub. But it's not really about me being nervous. I think not everybody else is nervous as well. Bunny always goes to the toilet, but that's just literally only a little charm to him. But I think everybody always goes into the set thinking that with a winning mentality, but I can't help to always think at the back of my head that there's always that self-doubt, and that's with everyone.
I think wins are taking a lot less of like a woohoo. We still like look at like the things we effed up on. We're still looking at what we can improve during that set, and we're also, if there's another game the next day, we're focusing on that, doing prep for that. Now the losses, they're definitely hitting a lot more because we have like a higher expectation on ourselves with the split. We no matter what team we're against, we always feel like we should be winning.
Well, you guys saw it. You ended up seeing the video. Just to get a little bit of thoughts about how PK are going to be thinking about this next matchup, how they're going to be approaching it, and how everyone's obviously selling in to the Pittsburgh Knights house. I'm excited to see if they've got some new drafts for us today or how they're going to really be able to approach this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take, I think, from Na'Vi. They have to kind of figure out what Na'Vi are going to do, considering as a team, they can kind of take a couple different drafts and play it similarly. They do definitely have their distinct style of control, I would say,
Right.
and that kind of bleeds into the triple DPS that they play. It bleeds into the Inara Khan sustainy tank kind of style that they also like. And I feel like against an aggressive team, that's really strong, but it can be kind of dismantled if the team has a set play and they execute it exactly the way that it has to.
Right. I mean, of course, Natus Vincere are such a strong team. And then, of course, you mentioned the front liners. You have to mention at least one of the other front liners. Not necessarily their point tank, but Phoenix, of course, in this case, being a very, very strong off tanker. He can flex onto a bunch of different roles, but he's really, really strong on Natus Vincere's side.
And flexibility is huge for what Na'Vi want to do. We also saw him pull out the Nando, character we haven't seen, at least in the off-tank position, in a little while. That speed boost, Scorch, Brand, Cauterize, all that stuff being gone, kind of put him away for a while, but Towering Barrier being changed to shield cooldown lets Nando get away with just a little bit more, and Phoenix was able to flex onto it and really show us what Nando could do. And I think just being as flexible as Phoenix is what enables Na'Vi to play all these different compositions. And also, you can't really let the power tanks through against them.
Right.
Just because of how good Phoenix is on Atlas and Makoa. Like, some teams, maybe you can get away with it, you take that risk, but I don't think you can ever get away with taking that risk against Faye.
I'm glad that they actually showed that clip of him actually landing that hook onto Eevee because that literally segues, like it immediately follows up from what you were just saying. You give them these power tanks, you leave the Makoa open, you leave the Atlas open, or at least some of these strong off tankers, and you put it on a guy like Phoenix, and clearly he's going to pop off. The presence of mind to be able to get that Eevee blinking in immediately. She didn't die, but at the same time, it's just
pressure.
It's the pressure. It's the pressure that Phoenix has on these characters. It's why you don't want to give it to him. It's why you want to try and keep him away. And even though people are banning like Makoa Atlas anyway, I mean, I feel like those bans could be perfectly targeted towards Phoenix as well. You don't want to allow them to have it open anyway.
Yeah, even though people are doing it against everybody, it does definitely.
Yeah,
it
definitely
can look a little bit targeted
Yeah,
against
it
him.
can.
About that Eevee thing too, that's just comfort with the game. I mean, Faye's been playing it for so long, right? Once you've been playing enough, you'll kind of get an idea of those distances, of those blinks and things like that. And Phoenix clearly super comfortable there, and even on the DPSs too, kind of what allows them to do that triple DPS. We've seen him play all sorts of backlines. I think that also that plays well into off tanks, kind of shifting into that role because they don't have to play as risky with their health bar because they're used to having a significantly higher amount versus compared to a backline DPS.
Right, exactly. I mean, of course, Makoa has a high health pool. I mean, you have Fernando with a sort of high health pool. I believe it's 4950 if you're running the certain.
It's all over the place. I think it's 4950 with Cavalier 3.
Okay, all right. It just depends on what. Okay, yeah. Then of course it would opt to be what it is that you depend on going. I mean, in this case, of course, you have the Fernando pick. Now that's what's interesting is that they added a new card to him. Of course, that's going to increase his shielding. And you did mention it before. They have a card that also lowers the cooldown of his shield. The question is that how often do you see him being drafted now? Just from a desk perspective, of course, we're not pros. I'm definitely not. Kresnik, I
was gonna say I think it's not better necessarily than Khan or Ashe, but with one of them banned, he's definitely a good fallback, at least on these closer maps where you can play around his damage a little bit more, where he can get away with being aggressive, and the most important thing, where he can get the most value out of Immortal. Immortal was kind of the reason why he was being picked at all after the nerfs initially. It's such an impactful ultimate. Whatever the enemy team wants to do, you just say no. There's really nothing you can do other than back up, and forcing that can sometimes change the flow of a fight, especially with how Na'Vi like to control these situations.
Right, exactly.
They like to play patiently, wait for you to make a mistake, and they can force a mistake with a good Immortal.
That's part of the reason why I brought it up, because of the fact we were just talking about Phoenix and how powerful he is on some of these off-tank roles, on these off-tank characters. It's really just a matter, of just trying to figure out what it's just a matter of trying to figure out whether the Fernando will be a pick it is that they might fall back to every now and again. Of course, you brought up a good point. Immortal was the reason why he was being picked, and I did end up knowing that at the same time. I just wanted to know, your thoughts, of course, about how you felt like Fernando was stacking up in this case against some of the other tanks.
The biggest issue is how hard he just gets bullied by the others. I mean, into Ashe, it's
that makes sense.
Kind of hit or miss. I mean, the Ashe will be able to splash over his shield, cauterize him to deny that formidable and that last stand value. Khan just annihilates Fernando.
Right, of course.
It's a little better now because it used to be this 10-second cooldown forces a 15-second cooldown, so he always gets the better of you. But it's definitely a little better with Towering Barrier, kind of evening out the cooldowns a little bit, so you have more options for counterplay.
Exactly. I mean, we have the map bans already up. Bazaar is gone from Pittsburgh Knight's side. Natus Vincere, of course, is gone from Ice Mine's side. Fish Market and Warder's Gate, respectively, for both of these teams are going to also be gone off of the map. We're going to see where it is we're going to end up going as well in Game 1 and see what these teams have in store for us in terms of map picks. Frog Isle.
So snipers, that's where we want to start here.
Yep.
Some map where you can kind of get away with multiple styles of play. Knights want to go here because I think they're confident in being able to bust through danger. If they can break through that sideline, or they can even go through stage either way, as long as they can be aggressive, they can make it work. I feel like this map would normally fall a little bit into Navi's wheelhouse because it can be played very control heavy, where you just have a Drogoz on danger, you have your point tank, you have a sniper, and then just every lane is covered. And that does, I think, play very heavily into the way that Na'Vi likes to play the game. But Knights, they clearly feel like they have an answer if this is the first place they want to go. And it does also play into what they've banned as well, because they've banned 2 very wide rotation-heavy maps. So the only one that's really left is Shattered, and then after that, that whole archetype of map is kind of off the table for the rest of the set.
Right, I mean, you have Ashe and Makoa both off of the field right there. Na'Vi opt to go for Atlas. and they ban out the Strix as well. Once again, we talked about it briefly before, not going to bring it up too much, but it's just the fact that, you know, you get rid of Strix. If they do lock the Kinessa, we've seen Grover be picked as well to be able to pin those supports down. Knights, however, are going to opt to go for the Khan very, very first.
Khan is going to be good against the Nando if Na'Vi decide to do it, so probably not specifically
Yeah,
why
probably,
they picked
yeah,
Khan, but
right.
very good at controlling danger. Also kind of takes away from that standard of Na'Vi, where when I think if I think the ideal Na'Vi tank draft, I'm thinking Inara Khan
Right.
most of the time.
Of
So
course.
just taking 50% of that away is always going to be a good look for you. And Na'Vi smartly burning through their bank time here to think about their response. I think it's a little tougher for us because it makes us, have to talk for more time. But
Right.
I think if you're not burning through your entire bank time as a professional team, I think you're making a mistake.
Right.
You
That
have
makes
this time to discuss your strategy and what you want to do. If you're not taking it, there's just no reason not to prepare more for what the enemy team is going to be throwing at you.
Jury
Right. I mean,
and
they,
executioner.
on Navi's side, in response to that Khan, they've gotten the Eevee, they've gotten the Kinessa. Clearly, they want to be able to prioritize those damage picks for them. I mean, of course, it makes sense. We brought up before Kinessa battle of the snipers. They get rid of Strict. They opt to take the other. They opt to take the other one in this case. But they actually go for Khan, Barrett, Genos. Now, we've seen Grover on this map too, but just
Step into the light.
give me a little bit as to why, at this point, they have the hit scan. They can have some damage to deal sort of with that Kinessa. And of course, they haven't picked their damage dealers yet. They could still go for the Drogos. They could still go for some blasters. But why do they not feel as pressured to already try and deal with that Kinessa?
It's better for them to be flexible because now they
Right,
can
gotcha.
respond to at least one of Navi's tank picks. And Barrack and Khan, they're not going to be bad into anything. I mean, other than maybe an aggressive Bomb King against the Khan, but Navi already picked 2 DPS. And
Right.
they also first picked Khan, so they were kind of just saying, we don't care what you have, we're going to want it anyway.
Sure.
But just having those tanks, they're very flexible. Genos, going to be good with those tanks no matter what. There's no DPS that doesn't want Genos. So you have a draft that can kind of go any way, very versatile. Triple DPS might be what we see from Na'Vi, and I find this really interesting that they decided to go this way.
True, but also at the same time, Simsy, man,
You
didn't hold up
are
to your
not
word. Said
welcome
Perma
here.
ban Willow. She's not in the ban phase right there, my friend. Seems like she just ended up getting picked along with the Inara. Maeve Victor in response, though, for the Night side.
Victor's great on Frog Isle. I mean, Maeve is good everywhere, but Victor is fantastic on Frog Isle. He used to be a sniper supplement when Grover wasn't good, but Strix wasn't in the game. There was a small period where that was kind of the fallback you have.
Right.
His grenades are great for chasing around the window. You can kind of throw it and have it detonate past the wall and catch you that way. Barrage, I think, very good at dealing with people that are trying to kite around near the point side. The cover's not perfect, so pretty effective there. And he should have a good time. The thing is, Eevee will have to get close to be able to do anything to this Victor.
Right.
And if they can have a good enough control on danger, that Eevee won't be able to get close enough. If she has to blink and soar to get onto Victor, he's going to be able to put too much damage onto her before she can get onto the ground to use Ice Storm or do anything.
Of course, I mean, they picked them out Damba to be able to keep that Inara in the game as much as they possibly can. Of course, that healing. These two are a very, very strong combo. Inara, Maldamba are the final locks for this. Of course, you have the Victor, Maeve, Genos, Barrett, Khan, Eevee, Kinessa, Willow, Inara, Maldamba, Na'Vi, opting to go with that triple DPS that they have been somewhat known for.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's Frog Isle, man. This is like 2-tank the map. I think
Right.
it might be too tough for Na'Vi to break through that control, but if any team can do it, it's got to be Na'Vi.
Yeah, I mean, once again, known for that triple DPS right there. Of course, doesn't mean it's always going to work out. We'll have to see whether we're right or not right into this game.
Thank you very much, fellas. Dolson and Gormizer on the call in your second set of this fine Thursday. Na'Vi versus Knights. This is going to be a good one, Gore. I mean, this is a number 1 versus technically a number 7 matchup.
Yeah.
But we mentioned closing out PPL last week. That is not a number 7 team in the Knights.
No, they are definitely someone to keep your eye on, as well as someone to maybe be a little bit more worried about if you're Na'Vi here. Triple DPS, as they were saying on the desk. Something we've gotten maybe a little used to seeing out of Na'Vi. But I will also add the caveat, we also haven't gotten used to seeing them be widely successful with
Yes.
it. It's a very hit or miss strat for them.
Remember week, what was it, like 1 through 4 of the PPL. I mean, they were kind of feeling comfortable with where they were standings-wise, and this is to your point. They tried to hammer home triple DPS, triple frontline, anything but the standard 2-2-1 throughout those first 3 or 4 weeks, to some mixed success here and there. Going back to triple DPS this time, I mean, I think Kresnik brings up a good point in that Frog Isle is kind of that, you need somebody to stand on the point, you need that off tank to move forward. So lacking that is different, but Na'Vi, maybe they just look to get extra aggressive, win the team fight, and then worry about the point.
It's going to be interesting to see. I think how exactly they can adjust to that. I think Willow's going to open up a pretty large amount of space for them,
Sure.
which for Frog Isle means that they should theoretically then just be able to kind of move forward
Right.
and kind of strong arm anybody on the Nights Out. But there's a lot, I think, hinging on Willow being widely successful. And that kind of thing, I mean, right now seems like it might be easy to do, but it might be something that could get taken down by the Knights pretty easily. Anything that could just stray shot into the air if she's up there for a Fae Flight will bring her back down and maybe take her out of the equation.
Well, we know how Simsalud specifically
he'll
feels
have
about
that
Willow.
Fuel.
He is ready to kill off this Willow time and time again. I forgot his exact quote. It was, us DPS flank players, or the flex players, it doesn't feel good, right? We should be happy to get another one in the pool, but something just feels bad in a good way about playing Willow because she's just so good. Not banned out here. Na'Vi are going to pick it up. And the space control she brings, those Fae Flights are going to be huge. You're right, though.
Actually,
I mean, it's a lot of, Victor. You're going to have to look at the Eevee. You're going to have to look at the Willow as well. Lots for Ricardo to look at in this game.
And a lot for him to focus on. And the thing is Na'Vi, in this case, actually have, I would say, the two extremes of the blaster, where it's just like Willow just kind of does her damage. That's all she does. And Eevee is very intricate in how you kind of make her weave through to make sure she's successful. So no matter what, Ricardo's going to have some trouble, I think, dealing with either of them. One, because of the damage dump. One, because of the mobility. And either way, they're going to play distraction for each other. And that might just facilitate its own little wombo combo to knock people down.
Well, Na'Vi don't want to forego any percentage on the point, actually getting on there first in typical Na'Vi fashion. Here's where their backline's going to be playing all up on the high ground. And we've mentioned Eevee, we've mentioned Willow. Can't forget about Mutu on this Kinessa. A potent player if he gets his hands on a sniper. 72% for Natus Vincere, just some good zoning, some plug shot, too much damage for the Knights to really move forward. He knows there's a target over that right-hand staircase. Ninu's looking to get aggressive as well. Chunked very, very low now. Zarini actually catches one too many shots from Mutu. First blood to Natus Vincere. 75% from them. The team fight could now just start to snowball out of control.
I mean, a couple of good shots coming down. Ninu, credit for the kill, but Mutu being able to kind of pick up this Kinessa and hit a lot of these shots. Next level for them to be able to come through and have that. And he's playing at different angles, I want to say. Not necessarily weird angles, just not typically where we see him. Wasn't hanging out in window, was kind of more up near stage, but not in the way that you would see him. Normally that's like, I got a really good pick onto another sniper, now I move over. He was just kind of like, nah, I'm just going to play over there. See what shots I can get onto the point and do what Na'Vi do best. I don't care if we win the fight, we just have to win the point.
And win it they did, 6% for the Knights. At the end of it, Ultimate starting to fly. Zarini gets back on first blood, kills off Spunky there, who did pass out the Dread Serpent. Nice double kill from Phoenix, who's flexing onto the Willow this time around in this triple DPS composition. Actually, was looking like a really bad stagger for Natus Vincere, but some good kills from Phoenix. Keep this payload moving forward.
This might actually be the first time I've seen Phoenix play a blaster.
Yeah, he normally flexes onto
like Shaolin
or Cassie. Right.
I'm assuming because he plays those, he'd probably fit in a Leon in there, but Blaster's not normally where I see him go. And it does make sense that all of them, after I had mentioned it, that he goes to Willow, of all the blasters to go into. Bomb King, maybe kind of right there. Bomb King's damage seems very upfront, but his autos are really the tricky part, is knowing when to detonate, how to kind of get into the motions with him. But as it is right now, he's got point and shoot, as well as blow him up with a frag. Like, you're pretty much set.
Phoenix would be okay with that as well. Good value out of that midnight for Simsalud. It's going to win the Knights the re-engagement here. 45 seconds left for Natus Vincere to get back to the payload and move it forward. Kinessa has Headhunter as well as Seismic Crash and Fae Flight for Natus Vincere. G-Bunny a little bit far forward there, gets staggered out. Mutu looking for just one more shot, knows the Maeve is going to poke around the corner, connects onto the toes. Not enough to get the kill, but maybe enough to set up Ninu for a follow-up attempt. Simsalud has to hang out behind the rocks. Simsalud is feeling comfortable on Frog Isle, was 1v1ing in King of the Ring yesterday here. Seismic Crash drops down yet again. That's going to lock up Zerini. Ninu finds the kill. Lazy teleporting, or escorting, I should say, the payload forward just a little bit. Rakata answers back onto Mutu. Now he's got Phoenix getting aggressive. Ninu cleans up the kill. G-Bunny, the last frontliner left aligned for the Knights at the moment. He's forced off. This payload might just go in.
I mean, a couple more shots, maybe one more kill. A Doom Shield to try and stall it out just a little bit longer here. Zerini's doing anything and everything he can. But again, this is something Na'Vi are used to dealing with, is Zerini's presence on the point. And it seems like they're going to be able to kind of come in, potentially knock that down. Rakata with a good shot to the back line, and Spunky's gone now too.
Rakata with a lot of uptime in that fight. They look at who's dead on the Knights at the end of that. It's G-Bunny and it's Zerini. And then one more of the DPS is respawning. That was just hyper-focus on the front lines from Na'Vi, and that's all you need to push in the payload.
And again, not something they are unused to having to deal with. I mean, Zerini has not only subbed in for a lot of these PPL teams in the past before joining the Knights, but I mean, when Na'Vi and NIP went back to Europe and were scrimming Penta and Sour Team back in the beginning of this year, that's who they would have to deal with.
Yep.
So his presence on the point, while it is very strong, fits into the style of play they know how to deal with. Although there is something to be said of how much are they reading him and how much is it that Ninu's just having a really damn good game at 9-1-1 as an EV.
Yeah, 9-1-1 for Ninu. And the Zerini versus Lazy kind of comparison is a thread that we've been following throughout this split. So that's something to keep your eyes on throughout this game. Cuss Cutie wide left with the through time and space. Barrage rips through the health bar of Lazy as Simsalou gets aggressive. Natus Vincere forced back. Not enough frontline presence to keep them in this engagement. A couple more daggers into Mutu will kill him off. Overpower connects. This time on to Spunky. And the Knights are able to fully steamroll that one. Natus Vincere still have 3 ultimates to work with, but it's 78% for the Knights. Fast cap at their back. They might capture point number 1.
Couple of good daggers here. Should be able to find the kill on Mutu. There it is. Simsalou finds it. Quoting him again from yesterday. I'm not an Eevee player. I'm a Mave player. And, well, he's at least showing that off right now. Rakata gets a good kill as well. And they're sticking it to Na'Vi where they need to, being able to kind of find that point. Keep them locked up in their base pretty well.
Yeah, and the stagger potential on Frog Isle is certainly there, and it's something you have to be mindful of. If you're going to lose the point, you don't want to immediately get steamrolled. The Knights were able to kind of find some sort of middle ground between the two. So at least the payload has moved forward for them in the first 30 seconds. 2 minutes roughly left for the Knights to try to tie up what Natus Vincere were able to do. Dread Serpent, Headhunter, Seismic Crash on the defense. Spunky just hanging back, trying to keep the healing up on this solo front line.
I mean, doing pretty much anything and everything they can. Healing almost the same coming down from the Maldamba as we had from Genos. Not a combo or a matchup we get to see as often lately. It's usually one of them gets kind of laid waste to the side. Right now it's going to be Lazy getting aggressive.
There you go.
A couple of kills come out. This is looking good for Na'Vi in terms of zoning and defending.
Well, that's how you deal with a Victor, I guess. You just jump right on top of them if you're lazy with the Inara. Drop down your Warder's Field, have your teammate poke over the edge. Because Rakata's been a big reason why the Knights have kind of gotten themselves back into this one. Ninu's quieted down. Rakata's started to heat up a little bit. Barrage has opened up a lot of space. Gets a kill there onto Spunky. G-Bunny onto Phoenix as well. So this is a good mid-fight from the Knights, especially if Lazy is going to get crossed out here. But throws up the wall and actually keeps the payload roughly in place. Finally going down. Payload starting to make some more progress. It's going to get about halfway there. Natus Vincere with plenty of space, though, to get back in and try to defend one more time.
30 seconds is just a century, essentially, on this map. It's the only way I can think of how to describe it. It's a long time for the Knights to be able to still try and convert this. Very slow moving as it feels right now, but they're locking them down. A couple of good daggers here could absolutely find the kill. Simsalou just barely off the mark from being able to get them before they go back into the base. So the healing is going to be there for Na'Vi, and no deaths just yet.
Simsalou so aggressive, diving in. Saw a kill on the plate. Couldn't finish it off, though, and forced back now are the Pittsburgh Knights. Good aggressive all-at-once defense from Natus Vincere. Rakata falls as well. Nobody in range to contest, and Natus Vincere moved to within 1.
Moving on in as well to keep themselves healed up and topped off. Very good movement from them. I think good reads, being able to kind of deal with the Mave appropriately. Ninu's been causing a lot of trouble into the back line. 13-3 from his 9-1 start, so maybe not as loud of a round from him the second time around. And a little bit more coming down from lucky number 7 there, Ricotta. 7s all around, KDA being picked up. Good damage as well, over 70k. But he's not finding the direct matches, I think, that that you would think of. Like, I don't see him as much getting rid of Ninu, where the issue maybe seems to be. Whereas he is chasing down Phoenix pretty well. With a Fey Flight, could absolutely change the impact of this beginning, but has to be very cautious about that victor.
Well, Haven's top to bottom for Natus Vincere as well. Ricotta and G-Bunny and Barrack, for that matter, providing so much of the damage. Ultimates start to fly. Seismic Crash, ground Simsaloo. Lazy forced to peel back. Midnight starts it off. To the Fey Flight, though, as well. G-Bunny catching a lot of that damage. Ricotta tosses out some barrage. Good turn shot onto Ninu. No more Eevee. Because now they're just trying to use Natus Vincere's side of the map as a little bit of cover here. Down behind the trees, Phoenix stays alive throughout that fight and is able to find a kill. Zarini a little bit too far forward as well, but look, 89, 93%. Void Grip keeps Lazy out of range. And the Knights may not have totally won the fight, but they get the point, and that's what's important.
And they're looking to push this about as lengthy as you can for Frog Isle. I mean, they have a very good point fight here that's keeping them in control just enough to be able to grab it with, well, so far double comeback mechanic, being able to kind of get it 4% every tick. If this stays 3-2, if Na'Vi find a defense, which as of right now, I mean, only 30 seconds in, looks like they're poised to do so with how much this payload has moved. But if they stay at 3-2, that gives Na'Vi that chance right there where you see Lazy not touch. All of a sudden, he's able to get the touch in just before you're able to take it into that final conversion. Those moments will start to impact it more as time goes on, whereas now, they just have to figure out how to break this down. They have to get through the wall that is Lazy up there. It looks like they're very close to doing so. And then they still have to deal with the damage input that is coming in from Lazy.
Well, this is traditional Frog Isle in that you zone out the defense, or the offense rather, and then they're able to break. Then you have to peel back on defense, and that's sort of that second resurgence that you're starting to see from the Knights here. Mutu from the background trades out with 1 onto Zarini, but that's it for Natus Vincere. The Knights finally getting some progress on this payload. Through time and space from Cuscutie could open the door. Barrage as well has been chipping away at the health bars of Natus Vincere throughout this game. Ricotta positioning aggressively back behind the rock here, trying to poke away some at Lazy, who's kind of caught out on an island on his own here. And you can see that Ricotta's just too much to focus on. Is an Eevee about to bounce onto me? Is Willow going to blink up and over this rock? Lots for Ricotta to take into consideration. A Dread Serpent to the back line of the Knights from Spunky, who looks to open up this fight. Mutu and Phoenix combined for a couple of kills. Ninu now just zoning. That's the only cue the Knights needed to back off.
A good read as well. Jumps over the wall, through the window, lands on top of Barrack's head, and gets rid of Zarini pretty much as fast as he can. 30 seconds left, but not a lot of time here for the Knights. As much as it is an eternity on Frog Isle, with this amount of zone, it's very difficult to break through. Unless they can send someone, like Maeve, maybe if she can sneak by, there's like a huge distraction statue side that maybe screams for you to ignore her. She can slip through closer to the payload and try to push it, but still needs to go 40% of the way.
Well, the Knights are actually using only through time and space right now. Phoenix with a double kill. May have just staggered out enough. Looks like Natus Vincere are going to feel okay to just peel back. The back of their base, try defense one more time. Either you're looking at a tied game or it's still 3-2 going into the next mid. G-Bunny very chunked out here. Battle Shout's going to give him some good healing. Steps over a couple seedlings there, takes a little bit of extra damage on his regress. Ninu blinks in, finds the kill. Ricotta's able to trade out one more double onto Simsaloo, and Phoenix as well throws his hat into the ring. Whew. That's 3 from the Eevee to seal up that defense.
And really good mobility on top of that to be able to come through. Ricotta had some really good tracing, and like you said, you could even see in the moment how much he's thinking about as it's going through when he's trying to find maybe good shots in the air. Is Ninu coming for me? Is Phoenix up in the sky? What do I need to look at? Where do my shots need to be going? But he was able to kind of keep him under lock. Goes from 7-7-7 to 12-11-10. Whereas on the other side, Phoenix kind of starting to hit more positive this time. Ninu, again, not as exacerbatedly long as it was the first time. But, I mean, 17 kills now, being able to come through. 8 more last 2 rounds. He's just causing a lot of trouble for the Knights.
And Mutu has really turned around his game as well. 9 streak burning away for him. Was negative after the first couple of points, but has recently started to find his spacing just a little bit better. Pittsburgh Knights needed this one to stay in this game. Natus Vincere going to try to put an end to it with a Faith Light from Phoenix. Seismic Crash down to the low ground. Lazy out of the range of the barrage here. Mutu with the opening kill onto Ricotta as well. That's so much range now mitigated from the Knights. You're going to have to get up close and personal if you want to win. One more shot from Mutu onto G-Bunny seals up that kill. Zarini with the resets on the bowling ball is not going to be enough to save Barrick's life. Natus Vincere weather the storm. They use some ultimates, still have a Dread Serpent to maybe find a zone.
Overpower is still going to be available, but I'm trying to figure out who you can hit that on at this point. You have too many people moving around, too many factors that are controlling this objective. It's 75. You're going to be able to throw Phoenix off.
Take
Without
some time,
Faith Light, it's at least going to bring 1 kill.
Take some time, and if he gets traded out, that's not good for the Knights. 99% for Natus Vincere. Somebody's got to get in range and find a touch through time and space from Cusscutie. Connects onto Mutu. Now Ninu looking for one final kill. Gets Zarini, but the Knights are able to trade out effectively. 3 kills for 2. Spunky and Lazy still alive. Cusscutie keeps his mantle onto the point. 72% for the Pittsburgh Knights. Good Void Grip onto Phoenix. May counter out a touch. And against all odds, the Knights have fought back into this mid. Good shot from Mutu. But we're tied at 3.
That was the fresh reminder. You just wanted to hit him. Just be like, by the way, I'm still here. I still exist. And the Knights could fully convert this. 4-3, kind of reverse from where Na'Vi were earlier. And keep this one in their wheelhouse. Good shots like that from Mutu will definitely stall it out. 2:05 on the clock. And that means that it's going to take a little bit to get back here. We've seen this defense hold what, twice now?
Yeah.
And so I expect Na'Vi are pretty well equipped to do so.
And they got some good ultimates to hang on to as well. Not quite as far forward as they have been. It's been interesting. They've been sending Lazy kind of all the way forward, and then once the Knights collapse onto Lazy, the rest of Na'Vi sort of come to his rescue. Midnight goes searching for a kill. Not going to connect. Seismic Crash locks up Cusscutie, gets the kill as well, and actually a good wall from Lazy, keeps him alive. Nice bank shot from Ricotta. Gets the kill, but his head was just too turned towards Lazy throughout that fight. The rest of Natus Vincere were able to get involved, get some kills. And this is not a good fight if you're blue.
A couple of good shots could still be coming through from the Knights if they can maybe find the right angles to approach from. But you've got Phoenix as well as Ninu holding on to ramp. Everybody else is holding on to, well, I mean, this looks like a mid-fight with their positioning. They're prepared for it to be as such. And admittedly, because of where the payload is, it kind of still is a mid-fight.
Effectively is, yeah.
Now regressing back to its original spawn point right there in the center.
Some good shots. To Ninu from Ricotta. Lazy right back to the same spot. He's just going to drag the attention of 4 or 5 of the Pittsburgh Knights over to himself. One more time, Phoenix takes advantage of the turned heads, gets the kill onto Ricotta. Zarini's able to trade out. Payload now finally moving as Simsulu's looking for some long-range shots onto Spunky. Not going to connect onto the healer for Natus Vincere. 4 ultimates for Na'Vi, 3 for the Knights, soon to be 4 and 5 once Barrage and Midnight are up. They could end the game here. Natus Vincere have to find a defense, might be forced into some ultimates of their own.
Have the ults. Barrage going to get dropped. I was wondering what they were going to be willing to use. It's going to be that with the Ice Storm kind of meeting it in response to 2 ults used, 1 for each team. That means that there's a little wiggle room as they come around the last corner. They're going to be going down the ramp if you are the Knights. And with Zarini going down, with Ricotta going down, that might spell the end.
Yeah, no front line, lack of back line now. Cusscutie's going to do his best to keep G-Bunny alive, but no amount of Geno's healing is going to win that one. Good flick shot from Ninu seals this one up. Natus Vincere, Pittsburgh Knights, game 1 headed to a 0.7 to decide who strikes first. And after the starts that Na'Vi had, they go up 2-0.
Yeah.
What a fight back from the Knights it's been.
Pretty much the lengthiest game you could get here happening on Frog Isle, at least in terms of the way the scoring has gone from 2-0
right.
to 3-1,
3-1,
now
3-2,
to 3-3.
3-3, right.
So no matter what, someone's walking out of this round a winner. But the problem is going to be figuring out how to approach it in a different manner. I mean, Knights have been winning it, but it's been on unequal footing this entire time. Na'Vi almost had that one, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. 14, 13, 23, and a Fae Flight ready for Phoenix, along with the Wrecker 2. Deals with Zarini really well.
Mutu and Ninu both, well, Ninu's already over 20. Mutu is looking to make that 20 for himself as well. Through time and space, does not connect from Cuss Cutie. That's a big one. Certainly isn't always consistent. Overpower misses as well from G-Bunny. Faithlight from Phoenix is going to start off with some aggression. Locks up G-Bunny, does the seismic crash. Dome shield from Zarini, forces Lazy back. No more point contention from him. But Phoenix still flying high up above, gets the kill. A double from the Eevee. Mutu as well, crosses that 20 kill threshold. And that's a big fight from Natus Vincere. The Knights used all the ultimates they had ready and have nothing to fight back with.
Na'Vi about to get the Ice Storm, which at this point, you might not think too much of it. As far as ults go, it usually gets thrown out just for nothing. But here, that's not only good for dismounting or getting a dismount, but then to slow him down, knock him away from the objective as it's at 90%. Simsaloo's not even going to be able to get the touch.
Wow, what a seal up from Natus Vincere. They had the Ice Storm just in case. They go up 2-0, slip a little bit, make it 3-2, almost. Or they actually gave the Knights a chance to win the game on that last push, but seal it up on the final mid-fight. Cuss Cutie talking the boys through it. And the triple DPS, it pays off. Yeah,
there's a lot that worked out incredibly well. Mutu, Ninu, I think showcasing the best KDAs of the game, going what? One was 20-9 or 20-8 going into that.
They both crossed 20.
Either way, towards the end of the game, they were able to kind of pass that threshold. And with that, Phoenix just doing Willow things, even though he wasn't the normal blaster, and even though he was just not carrying.
We'll give him a pass.
He did a good chunk of damage to cause them trouble.
Na'Vi looking good. Game 1 of set number 2. Game 2 right after this.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Welcome back, guys. Natus Vincere getting the very first game in this set on Frog Isle, of course. They opt to go with the triple DPS strat, something it is they're known for just a little bit, and at the same time, they were actually able to come out on top with just an Inara and a Maldamba to be able to have those heals in front line.
Yeah, and it paid off for them. The Inara was able to sustain pretty effectively. Some of those middle mids were kind of tough. I think they were just able to kind of hold on the sides, not let the rest of them get in, but at the very end, just a little bit of an over-aggression, I would say, from the Knights. G-Bunny getting caught out in the enemy jungle, seismic crashed and melted down. And looking at the stats, I mean, as the Knights were looking closer and closer to winning, I was just looking at the damage and everything, and I'm like, man, this just looks like a Na'Vi game. Yeah. It doesn't look like it was that close, but by the end, Knights did really manage to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, everyone except for Spunky on Natus Vincere's side literally have 6-digit numbers in terms of damage. 7-11, 24 for the man Lazy, 20-6 for Mutu, Phoenix 17-3. What stands out to me the most, more than anything, of course, is Ninu on this 22, 8, and 20 on this Eevee. We had talked a little bit about the Willow before, but I feel like the Eevee was definitely a driving force here.
Yeah, I mean, Ninu was 9-1 after the first round. I mean, that's crazy for the pace of how quickly they were able to get to that point. Mutu also doing really well too, but it was tough for them to convert that objective. I think it was really Ninu finding the picks when they mattered that turned it. This was that little bit of over-aggression from Bunny. Again, caught in the enemy jungle. Dome Shield gets forced on point, but Zarini wants to do damage, so he chases off. Knights don't even get the cap time and denied what they needed to be able to get that retake in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you see the mobility it is that Eevee has. You pair that with somebody like Ninu, who's so well known for his flexible blaster play, as well as just having that capability to be able to fight. Ninu certainly being the most the most prominent player in that match on Frog Isle.
For sure. Yeah, definitely showing some EV flexibility, which Creatives was good, but I think Ninu has a more, I guess, star player performance on the EV for Na'Vi, and I think that's really big for them because they did kind of lack that as time was going on, and it's a great look having that presence really on the roster.
Right, exactly. I mean, we're going to take a look and see, of course, what maps we're going to have for Game 2 for Pittsburgh Knights versus Natus Vincere, and it's going to be Brightmarsh this time.
And Navi's taking us here, so it's always nice winning the enemy map when they're the first pick. When you win and you're like, all right, guys, we're rolling that momentum. What do we want? Such a good feeling, and Navi's got to be feeling good rolling into Brightmarsh, one of the standards. And none of the 3 main maps I'd say are banned, so we're gonna see most likely all of them before the set is over. Brightmarsh, a lot of things you can do. A little bit more vertical than Jaguar, not quite as vertical as Serpent, but still, I think one of the more flexible, and I would say this is probably the map that teams like to start sets on.
Right, exactly. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You got a smaller map. Of course, you have those little side rooms you have to fight on. You have to fight on Lid as well, up at the top, right above Point. Same time, though, first 2 bans are going to be Willow, Makoa. This time, Willow's out of the equation here this go around. I'll be really trying to consider what their second ban could possibly be. Or is they going to have to go for that frontliner or try and go what they did before? They sort of had a little bit, not necessarily of a targeted pick, but got really rid of one of the more common frontliners in that case.
Navi taking Simsy's advice from that video that opened
I was about
the
to
day
say,
and
yeah.
Banning Willow, something that wasn't done, surprisingly, by Knights after that initial.
Yeah, Simsy, what's up with that, man?
Yeah, come on, man. There was a whole 10-second cut
We
in
had
the
a
video.
whole bit on that.
Yeah, there was a whole bit in the video about that, and just weren't able to follow up. Ash will be the second ban for Navi, and with Atlas banned by Knights, it leaves Khan open as the final strong off tank. So Knights will probably end up with a Nando or a Ruckus if they want that, unless they do manage to get that Inara Barrack, which I don't think is bad, but if they do lock in this Cassie, I think that'll open up Navi to get their point tank and stay flexible in the remainder of this draft.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we already see the pressure that they're able to apply purely based off of these second and third picks on the Knights side. Inara, Cassie to be able to break that shield. Big game, obviously going to play a role. It always does whenever she's picked, especially in the very, very strong frontliners and stronger off tanks. Inara, first pick in this case. Survivability is there. Navi really just trying to consider what their next picks might just be.
And I would assume it would be probably, if they want to stay the most flexible, if they don't think there's any DPSs that are really a threat, it's either going to be their support and probably Barrack, or it's going to be their preferred flanker between Maeve and Eevee, so they can deny that choice from Knights, and most likely Barrack. That would be my guess. But they're going to just completely own me, and they're going to pick Strix instead. I guess they think Strix has enough value here that that's going to be the more important pick, but they do still pick the Barrack. They want to have that point presence and deny the chance to get Barrack off tank from Knights, because that would definitely be Knights' kind of counterplay to this off tank starving that Na'Vi tried to do in their draft.
Yeah, Strix, Barrack, Na'Vi. I'm gonna go for it with that. Because looking very concerned. Looking very concerned, a very, very brief moment as the camera slowly pans into him at the same time, though.
That's just Cuss. I love Cuss, but he does have resting sad face. He knows it. He knows it. We know it. It happens with him, because still, it's just they're just figuring out the draft he's thinking. It is the default for Cuss, but no, I'm sure he is just purely very focused about this draft. And
yeah, same.
Knights have left. Na'Vi left Maeve and Eevee open, so Knights can get their preference here. Eevee pretty solid, able to go over the roof, get very aggressive. A lot of walls that you can play just behind as Eevee, and then have a pretty much free wormhole on the way back too. You know, stand in tree. Blink up, soar, blink back. You're all the way back in your tree, completely contained and unable to be shot by a backline.
Right, of course. I mean, Eevee, once again, they're hovering her. They're really just trying to consider, okay, there we go, Maldamba.
Pray to your gods.
For their,
the
for Knights
spirits
side.
care not.
For their support, Eevee, of course, is being considered. They do actually opt to go for that, of course. It's going to be harder for Strix to really be able to do what he needs to when he's got an Eevee breathing down his neck at all points of time in the backline.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Eevee, I think, is one of the... It's going to have a harder time into the Strix. I feel like Strix is really solid into the Eevee, just the ability to hit it with the Talon Rifle, swap to the pistol, do a ton of damage in time. It's very rough. With both DPSs picked for Knights, though, kind of leave themselves open to the Drogo's pick from Na'Vi. No real fantastic way to deal with Worm Jets. Leaves Drogo's open, so a lot of aerial control, and Knights don't make the same mistake.
Let's go.
The Drogos. The Drogos will make it tough. I would say. I think Terminus won't be terrible if they keep it on the point, but they're going to go with the Ruckus instead. They understand that the Drogos is going to be a real hassle. And they need something to be able to get into the backline. If Na'Vi want to get aggressive, they need an answer, and Terminus, I definitely don't think, is that answer, at least against the ability to surround that Na'Vi currently have. Strix and Drogos can just play so far away from the Terminus, he wouldn't have been able to make it in. So I think Ruckus is definitely the right pick.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he's pretty much going to be able to sit up right on top of that lid right above point, just fire it down. We're trying to fire at the Drogos that's trying to get into those high up spots, of course. I mean, Nara, Cassie, Maldamba, Eevee, Ruckus, Khan, Strix, Barrick, Drogos, Genos. I'm a bigger fan, personally, of Navi's side. I really, really like the Genos just being able to complement that Strix, complement Drogos. At the same time, though, having Strix on Navi's side on Bright Marsh, that's kind of worrying to me coming into Knight's side.
Yeah, I would say that the Knights' draft depends purely on their patience. If they can outwait and get the counter dive in, it can work.
Well, here we go. Game 2 on Bright Marsh.
Well, there's lots of pros and cons to Navi's draft. 1 con, 5 pros. Bright Marsh hangs in the wings. Game 2 about to kick off. 7 points on Frog Isle. Na'Vi were able to take it. They were thinking about the Terminus SSG well, I say SSG because that's what comes to mind. The Knights were thinking about Terminus. Pivoted away at the last possible moment. But Strix finally getting some play here today after being banned out most of his good maps. Saw Kinessa on Bright Marsh. I remember when you and I were casting months and months and months ago, Kinessa on Bright Marsh kind of opened our eyes, and here we come right on back to a sniper.
Yeah, the one thing that's going to be most surprising for everyone who watches our leagues, it's not Stigma who is playing this sniper on Bright Marsh. It is Mutu. That just shows where Strix is and what he can accomplish right now in the right hands. And, I mean, if this fight goes his way, that's just ridiculous. Does make the trade out. Spunky gets the kill, and that's fantastic for them to be able to come through. I think that's impressive. Considering the amount of health Ruckus has, that response time was huge from Na'Vi.
Good air shot, good follow-up from Simsalou. Gets the kill onto Ninu. Forced to blink back to safety as Phoenix was giving him some duress there. Pittsburgh Knights now on the point. Good Void grip, but looks like he's able to get out nice and alive. Mutu going toe-to-toe with G-Bunny yet again here. No more Spunky for healing for Natus Vincere. Those health bars are going to get nice and low. Which is good if you're a fan of the Knights here. Ninu's trying to re-engage Simsalou into the ice block. One shot timed perfectly for Ninu. Seals up the kill. Zarini gets another. But 90% for the Pittsburgh Knights. Phoenix is going to have to move in and be the one to contest.
Good shots coming down. Spunky Mutu alongside Phoenix. You're going to be able to get that. He just kind of slams his shoulder into Cassie there at the very end to get the kill credit for that one. 96 to what is now 57. Kills kind of coming out even. I mean, no one's like overwhelmingly winning, and no one individually is doing anything insane for either team so far. Simsalou still in a position to change that. Not an Eevee player, by the way.
Not an Eevee player.
Plays from his own map.
By the way, that's a good Ice Storm. Forces some movement out of the lower inner side there. Good Dread Serpent gets a couple running away from Natus Vincere. Lots of low health bars to be taken advantage of. Ninu now into the Dragon Punch, but this is just icing on the cake. Pittsburgh Knights, rather, are able to win that first mid. Ninu thinking he might be able to get in and contest with the Dragon Punch, but the Knights seal it up.
Sure did execute the air, though. That air?
You're right.
Dead as hell. But he's in a good position, I think, to be able to continue the pressure on as Drogo's like up in the top. Warm Jet's paying off for him, but also being able to kind of play over the ledge that you have kind of above mid, as well as jumping around from, you know, maybe the balcony to balcony, side to side. No one's looking straight up, so he's been perfectly fine hanging out up here for the entirety of this. Just playing, he's like looking at this from a mini-map perspective. He's playing an RTS right now and just kind of commanding where the rockets drop from up top.
Right, he's pressing the buttons and the rockets are flying. Finally, G-Bunny was looking for some shots and forced him at least to reposition. But back up in the air he goes. Who knows where Rakata's likely going to be. Forces the dodge roll. Now Mutu has to flex the muscles a little bit on this defensive Strix. Not an ideal spot right at the moment. Hexafire secures the kill on Ninu. If you can't poke him out of the air, I'll just Hexafire him down.
A minute left. Well, a little more than that. Be able to try and find this. With Mutu kind of trading back and forth. Strix doesn't feel like it's doing too much just yet, right? Like he's there, he's impactful, he's getting good damage, but it hasn't been the lights out kind of performance I've started to expect to see from snipers when they get locked in on a map like this because of how awkward it always was to see them, so you didn't know how to play against them. Knights seem to understand how to handle this Strix just fine.
Mutu survived for a little bit of extra time there. It's actually a 3-man Dread Serpent from Cuss Cutie. The follow-up just not quite there. Into the rocket boots goes lazy. No reset for him just yet. Payload, though, inching closer. This is a quick map. I mean, if the Knights are able to convert just a couple more kills, Ricardo looking for the stealth up Mutu. Finds the shot, gets the kill. Trades out his life as Ninu takes his spot right back up in the air.
Gets up close and personal, Ninu. Someone might need to remind him that this is a rocket launcher, not a shotgun. Either way, it works both distances. Does the same amount of damage. Some just flashes back onto him. So far, he's been able to deal with it. Ninu does get the trade back there, but he's been really solid today. And it's just the only way I can say it so far. I mean, yeah, we're only in game 2, but he had a phenomenal EV performance there on Frog Isle. And now he is hitting a lot of these rockets, playing very well with the Worm Jets, and for the most part, no one on the Knights is looking at him. They don't really have a good direct counter to take him out of the sky. G-Bunny's probably the biggest threat. Well, when he gets to do that, G-Bunny's no threat at all.
Phoenix got staggered out. Both the off tanks are now gone. Serini gets picked off as well for Mutu. Some good long-range shots now down on the ground, trying to re-engage. Shipsalo with the double kill. May have kept the Knights in this one, though. Cuss Cutie is the last line of defense. Right behind Ricotta. They're going to ignore the snake for a moment. Wait. Uses the Dread Serpent at the last moment. I guess the thought process was there. Natus Vincere able to seal it up.
It was just close enough that if that Dread Serpent hits the members that are standing right on the payload and they get out of time, if he doesn't die there, he might push it in on his own with that Dread Serpent. So it coming out, it's definitely going to hurt them going into the next round due to lack of Dread Serpent. But a good call, I think, at the end. Potential for a play to be made to potentially swing things back in favor of the Knights, but now they're going to have to deal with what feels like it's going to be an onslaught from Na'Vi coming into this with a majority of their ults ready.
And yeah, down to 2% is the Dread Serpent there. Top 2 damage, 4 of the top 5 damage in this game, all for Natus Vincere. That's what you get with Genos, though. You get high damage Barrack. Mutu, he starts to connect. You know, if that Strix damage starts to climb the charts, this will be much easier for Natus Vincere. Dome Shield goes down, counters out the Ice Storm that's right on top of it as well. First blood over to Ninu. Now Simsaloo indoors trying to find the flanks, and Ninu continues his air superiority. Knows Ricotta's around the corner there. Gets a good fire spit. Him and Phoenix looking to combine for a kill. That does come to fruition here as the Knights at 27%, starting to get picked off one by one through time and space. Wide right from Spunky. Simsaloo blinks in. Continues his aggression. Unfortunately gets taken out by Ninu there.
Hexafire going to come through, burn through the shield, burn through Phoenix, and maybe help there with Lazy for a little bit, but G-Bunny does take his own death in response for that. It's very, very solid. Zerini, of all people, getting a triple kill through all that. Mutu doing anything and everything he can to try and get back to the payload, but it still ends up at 54-42. Not a huge lead for the Knights.
I think if that quickscope connected, he would have at least killed off Cuss Cutie, but Zerini might have been on his way to an unofficial quadra there if Cuss Cutie ended up dying. Seismic Crash rains down, but so does the Overpower, so no more point tank for Natus Vincere. 99% for Pittsburgh Knights. This is something that Na'Vi could take advantage of. Mutu and Ninu, the damage dealer, starting to get it done here. G-Bunny forced to dash his way in there, maybe just staggering himself out. Tied up at 1, so nobody has fast cap here. The Knights a little bit staggered. Have a chance to retake as Na'Vi are only at 75%.
And Mutu was there with a sliver of health, jumping up and down in stealth on the point, kind of keeping him under lock. Now in a good sniping position, hits Cuss for a healthy shot. Causes the healer to fall back, but he's still alive, still rolling. Ricotta going to be able to get a return kill for Zerini.
The battle of Strix and Cassie starting to heat up just a little bit. A 2-for-2 trade as overtime begins. Back and forth it goes. Mutu outside of the window gets the shot, but Ricotta wins the day, and the Pittsburgh Knights grabs themselves point number 2.
Ninu went in, And he's been having a lot of success kind of hovering in the sky, finding really good rocket shots. Not a lot of success on the Dragon Punch there. Went in, and I didn't even get to see what happened. He died before he could actually connect with anybody. So unfortunately for him, he's not been quite connecting, I think, on all cylinders that you would want, not firing the way that you would expect him to here on one of his signature picks. But it's been causing enough trouble to keep Na'Vi not in control, but really in high contest with the Knights to make sure that this isn't going easily for them.
Definitely not easily. We did expect this to be a very close matchup, and it's at least delivered that to us throughout the first couple of games here. Natus Vincere win in 7-point fashion game 1. The Knights take the lead here on Bright Marsh 2-1, but the defense is set from Na'Vi. Ninu takes to the skies one more time to try to find a little bit of poke. Spunky has not caught one with through time and space just yet, I don't think. Normally one of the more consistent ones. You can count on him finding one at some point today. At least gets a kill the old-fashioned way with that primary fire. Holding on to the through time and space maybe for a later date. With it being Zarini going down and Simsalou likely after the ice block, things stalling out here on the red side.
There's still a minute left to get back. If Na'Vi decide to, they could actually get decently aggressive here and still be able to die, come back, defend if things go, poorly for them on that defense. But it looks like instead of getting up in their face and maybe trying to hold back the Knights as far as they can, they're just going to still hover around the payload, dismount, and destroy anyone who happens to get too close to it if they can possibly burn them down. But Cuss, I was going to say, looking to keep Zarini alive, but gets melted himself.
Zarini is still alive for what it's worth, and Spunky dying off. Everyone, actually. Zarini keeps himself alive throughout that fight with some good healing from Cuss Cutie, and actually helps the Inara find a double kill. He's now going to poke out Phoenix, who's just contesting this payload with 15 seconds left, trying to prevent it from getting any further forward than it needs to.
These rockets coming from downtown, or uptown, I guess, since he's up in the air. Either way, it's going to be working pretty well for Ninu still. No kills. No one really that low, honestly. You would expect, and in my mind it works in tandem, hit a sniper shot, hit a rocket, they're almost dead if not dead, and then whoever happens to get the second shot off first, which theoretically would be Drogo's, can just absolutely annihilate and wipe out anyone. Now the question is going to be, how much does that combo happen, as well as where does this through time and space go? Is it this round, or does it go at the beginning of next?
He's holding on to his guns right now. G-Bunny follows up on a good ice storm from Simsalou. Ninu might be the last line of defense, but they step off of the payload with no time left. Gore, I think we've seen that more over the last couple of weeks than we're used to.
Feels like specifically against Na'Vi too.
Yeah.
Where they know how to control the objective. That's what it comes down to. They can stop you, I guess, from stopping them from winning by getting rid of any point presence you might have. Very, very smart with a lot of these fights because they've been isolating Cuss and being able to kind of find him. Whether it's Drogo's getting the shot, whether it's Phoenix getting the shot, whether you happen to have Mutu finding a really good snipe that pulls him out of the fight. Someone is making sure that the healing from Knights is getting maybe cut off at least a little bit, considering how much healing Moldamba can pop out. It's probably for the better for them. Zarini going to be able to sponge up a lot of those numbers.
It's been kind of quiet slash line-wise for both teams. Nobody really blowing me out of the water with hyper-positive. Mutu trying to hit his stride on this Drix. Flashbang right to the toes of G-Bunny, but Seismic Crash answers out. And that might buy G-Bunny enough time to pop back up, get himself a double kill. Ninu with the follow-up as well. The frontliners for the Knights are dead. It's only down to Cuss Cutie and Simsalou here, and Lazy takes that as the cue to move forward. Effective trades is all that comes down to for Natus Vincere.
A couple of good shots could be coming through. Dome Shield still available for Lazy. Overpower still available for Na'Vi. A lot that can absolutely confirm this point for him. 87% and rising still. Phoenix taking a lot of pressure. That's going to be a Hexafire to the face.
Master Commander's grab out. Spunky onto the rooted. G-Bunny finds the kill. Dome Shield for Lazy. It's going to zone out a little bit of the Knights. Dread Serpent peels a little bit for the Pittsburgh Knights, but now you're down to just a couple members again. Flashbang goes into the ice block. Simsalou effectively trying to stall off overtime. It's not that effective with that low of a health pool. Natus Vincere strike yet again, put themselves up 3-2 with a chance to win.
Being able to march this far forward, Ninu kind of playing sentry, I would say, for them, hovering in the air. good vision on the battlefield to see where exactly anyone might be coming from the Knights. Don't know if he catches that slip through of G-Money over there on the side. A ruckus in the back is about as painful as that sounds like it would be. All of a sudden, a minigun, 2 miniguns technically, pressed up against your back. He'll show you exactly where those wolves will go. Luckily for them, Mutu just decides that he's done with the game.
Mutu said, all right, I'm going to start hitting some shots here. Big 3-piece from the Strix. Keeps this payload moving. Keeps Natus Vincere in a great spot. Damage dealers for Natus Vincere are starting to feel themselves a little bit, and that's dangerous if you're the Knights. Respawning in the back of your base now. Overpower never got used. Dragon Punch for an execute is ready to roll, as well as an Ice Storm from the Knights. One last chance to try to zone them out on defense.
Trying to come around the corner. G-Bunny potentially finding a kill on the Phoenix might be one of the biggest things that could happen right here. Gonna be able to stay alive. Ninu comes in for the save though with the Dragon Punch. Trades his life out for it, but it keeps Phoenix rolling forward.
He backs himself up. Ninu finds the punch. Zerini trades out. That's a good overpower. Simsalou would have hit one more shot, but doesn't get the chance to do so. Everything in favor of Natus Vincere. Flashbang might just seal it up. Down goes G-Bunny into the pit. Zerini throws his body onto the pile as well. Seismic Crash stuns up 2 or 3. It's actually very good through time and space. Connects. And that seals it up. Natus Vincere turn this one around and grab themselves another win.
That was just, I think, the worst case scenario for Zerini. Kind of locked between all of these different avenues. They're being body blocked. There's a wall there. Through time and space comes through. Rockets flying down. Like, there was nowhere to stand near that objective that felt safe. So Na'Vi being able to kind of take that. Now taking their map and the Knights map kind of signifies that even though the Knights are keeping this incredibly close, they still have maybe a little bit of a gap between them and the first place team.
And you can see in the Knights booth, Simsalou doing a lot of the conversation, talking, trying to figure out what went wrong there, because they've been in both of these games, and that's maybe an understatement. They have almost won these last couple of games, but just cleaner team fighting, effective trades out through the mid. It's really been in Na'Vi's favor. They go up 2-0, chance to make it 3 in just a minute.
The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins.
Welcome back, guys, to the PPL. Of course, Na'Vi being able to take out that second game on Bright March. Of course, they are too much of a force to be reckoned with, at least that's what it seems like so far, currently with a 2-0 lead into the Pittsburgh Knights. I'm not sure what PK could have done, Kresnik, to be able to try and change that flow around.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they had to into the comp, I think, that Na'Vi were bringing, but they were just firing on all cylinders. Mutu was such a problem for them throughout that, and the counter draft of the Drogos really kind of just was too much for them also to deal with. Just both of those DPSs able to play so far back while applying so much damage pressure in general to them was just, again, it was just too much. Ninu and Mutu both very high in the damage charts, only 5k between them. Lazy close too, but just a lot of pressure, and they tried to get aggressive, they tried to get in, but they couldn't find the kills.
Yeah, I mean, Ricotta did extremely well on the Knights side. The Knights played, like you said, the best that it was they could. 11-14, 9-14, 3-7, 9-14, 15, and 17. It was a rough game all around for them. They did what they could. But, of course, you mentioned it before, 19-11, 18 Mutu. But Spunky, dude, 8-9 and 44. Like,
That's a lot of assists.
That's a lot of assists. I mean, that's like a support's dream right there. 8, 9, and 44 doing so well on the team, being able to keep everybody buffed up, especially with Luminary. That's going to hit so hard. I like Navi's team a little bit more said in the beginning, but Mutu, man, him on the Strix was a force to be reckoned with on Friday.
Once they figured out that they just had to play inside to get away from Nino a little bit more, Mutu being able to be right out this window, doing all this damage to them, they're like, well, if we're going to hide from Nino, I guess Mutu's going to be the real threat. He definitely lived up to it. It was so tough for them to get onto him. There was one quickscope moment where he caught Simsaloo as he was dashing around. Every time he got dove, he had the flashbang ready. So much from the Strix, and we can kind of see why it's being banned so much in these games.
Right, I mean, like, once again, we didn't get a chance to see his loadout or anything, so we didn't really quite know what it was they were opting to try and go for here. At the same time, it was so common that we saw his flashbangs ended up coming out, and like you said, just him being in the right spot at the right time. We see him come out so often, but it's one thing to bring him out on a map like Ice Mounts. It's one thing to bring him out on a map with a lot more space than Bright Marsh. Bright Marsh, I believe this is the first time we've seen a Strix on Bright Marsh this split so far.
I think we've seen Kinessa, I mean, on Bright Marsh and like the PML and things like that. Like snipers on Bright Marsh have their merits in some metas, but Strix is just so consistent at dueling in these close ranges. Now that these players are used to how effective he is, it makes sense. And I would expect to see, we'll probably stay it honestly at a standard map with how close that was from the Knights. Right. Both games could have been in their hands, but I think Na'Vi are just playing a little more consistently. We'll have to see where we do end up going.
Right, exactly. I mean, in Game 3, of course, warning, new game, new map. Who this? It's Ascension Peak.
That is actually, double-checking the bans, this is Knights' pick, and I would say this is a wide map with a large point, which is kind of what they banned. Yep. They banned Bizarre, they banned Fish. Maps that I would argue are similar in their own ways to Ascension Peak, so interesting that they'd want to go here. But yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I would do that too. After that last game?
Yeah, so would I. I mean, maybe not permaban Willow, at least Strix in this case, definitely on everybody's mind. I mean, I completely understand that. Once again, you brought it up. After last game, I wouldn't want Strix in my game either. Na'Vi opting to get rid of Makoa, of course. Don't want to have him in the game either. Of course, Knights take a little bit of time. Never mind, sticking true to both of their thought processes here. Of course, they want the Strix gone. They want the Willow gone even more. Deciding to opt to take that for second pick. Khan is first pick. I believe we've seen Khan first pick 3 times every single game now. We've seen it game 1, game 2, and game 3.
I believe so, and I think it's been influential. I think it's been worth having definitely every round so far. I'm glad the Knights are finally taking their own advice though. I mean, banning Strix and Willow. Well, Willow specifically from the interview, but Strix from the evidence from last game. They've definitely adapted the bans a little bit. And Na'Vi, probably going to see a point tank out of them, potentially a different backline if they want to kind of focus on that side of things. On Ascension Peak, that's pretty important. I think this map is wide enough where whatever backline you have can make a difference in how the draft goes.
Yeah, I mean, Khan, once again, is the first pick for Knights side. Na'Vi trying to consider who they want to go for their second and third pick in response. But Ascension Peak, a map we don't see quite as often. Ash, Cassie being locked in for Natus Vincere on their side. Of course, the Knights really trying to consider what it is they want to obviously pick in return.
Yeah, Ash solid on this map. A lot of distance to cover in her shoulder bash, able to cross a lot of room. And also kind of having pretty good trades into the con as long as you have the better DPS with you. Obviously, if the Ash has to dash, it's really bad because the con will just commanders grab you out of the dash. You have no way out. Your damage reduction is gone. A lot of value taken away from that. But if you're the one setting the pace, if you're constantly splashing over his shield, you can do a lot more in him than some other off-tanks can in that 1v1. Cassie, obviously going to be great. Good ult versus Maeve's ult, which is going to be potentially locked in here for the Knights.
Good night.
And just consistent long-range damage. Plus, if Knights hopefully they're going to get Barrack for their sake here. I was going to say, if it was a Nara Khan, big game would have shredded, but now Cassie's going to be mostly doing that Wrecker role, potentially even with Impulse to deal with the Maeve a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. Of course, what Na'Vi want in response to what's already happening. They have the Cassie to deal with the shields. Khan, Barrack, get him out of here when you give Cassie Wrecker, right, of course. And then Maeve, you brought up a good point. Impulse could be picked from Cassie to be able to try and deal some damage to that Maeve. Catch her off guard in those corners. And in this case, Ash, of course, having that sustainability to be able to stay on point as long as she needs to. But of course, picking Ash in the con can be questionable, but I think Ash is just too good all around to just sort of let her slip through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can make assert dominance work even in the face of overpower. Most players are holding on to it, but you can usually get the counter up. And Nando makes sense. Nando Ashe is a pretty good combination where you can go aggressive with Ashe and then not necessarily use the assert dominance. Use the Immortal to buy her just a little bit more time, and then once you've maybe forced out the overpower from the Khan or just gotten a pick on the Khan, then you can make that assert dominance work and give them very little counterplay really against you. Damba, I think, is interesting here too because of the, I think he's being picked not just because of the speed boost for the Nando, but also because of the unlimited range healing. I mean, just being able to kind of be very far back, very safe. Spunky's going to be able to
win or you die.
hit those heals at long range on those targets and keep his team alive and aggressive.
Are they really? Yeah, no. I was like, there's literally no way they don't have a
no
healer. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's literally
Yo, man, Toot.
No way. I mean, Toot. I don't know, man. I mean,
that's what people in my casuals tell me.
I'm literally the biggest emoji advocate whatsoever, but even I'm like, there's literally no way they're about to go into this. And it's starting to look more like my rank games, right? Like in this case where they decided to lock all of those DPSs. No healer whatsoever, but they're going to opt to go for the Genos. Of course, Na'Vi in this side have one more spot open, of course, for another damage dealer. I'm personally thinking that it's going to be Eevee. It makes the most sense to me. I think
into the Leon Mave, it might be tough.
Really?
Eevee's definitely consistent. I could even see a second backline. I could even see like a Shaolin or something like that, just to have more presence. But I think Eevee would fit with the tanks a little bit better for sure. The Ashe and Nando, they want to get aggressive, and Shaolin will take lanes, but I think they really want to dive partner at least with those aggressive tanks.
It's going to sound weird because there's not a lot of space to cover, but do you think BK, where he would have to position, do you think that will be influential enough?
It would be great. It would be great paired up with the Khan to help. Sorry, it'd be great paired up against the Khan to help push away him because he's really good at splashing over the shield. Obviously, now we know it's going to be Eevee.
Right, yeah.
It's tough into those DPSs, but it just makes sense with the draft that Na'Vi has. Sometimes synergy is more important than that counterplay on the other side. If you think you can execute better than them, that's what's more important.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Eevee, in this case, is going to be able to go up and around, of course, be able to deal with both Khan and Barret going right over those shields. And very, very quick words, whose team do you like better in this case? Last time I liked Navi's. This time I think Knights has a little bit more impact to it.
I think Knights have the better draft, but I think Na'Vi has better potential to collapse on one target.
Sense.
Honestly, it's going to be a lot of Ricotta and Cuss. Can they stay alive through the onslaught that Na'Vi are going to bring?
Well, I mean, we'll have to find out, dude. I mean, on paper it looks great. However, in game is a different story.
Pittsburgh Knights looking to find themselves number one of this set on Ascension Peak. Na'Vi today, like they're not going to be denied, off to a 2-0 start. They get themselves another good draft. And of course, Fernando, that's a big conversation piece that we've had surrounding Natus Vincere. Typically, it's been Phoenix kind of in that off-tank role. Running formidable has become standard. Can't quite see. So it's Phoenix on the Ashe, which means they're going to put Lazy on the Fernando and stick him right there on that point.
3, 2.
Another interaction you have to look at, Gore, is the con dash into the Fernando shield, because, of course, with Fernando, once you bring that shield up, the moment it either gets deleted or you put it down, you have to wait for that cooldown.
And luckily, that cooldown's not going to be as long here for Lazy anymore, but he's still going to have to deal with that and deal with the consequences of it. So maybe trying to see what maybe Commander's grabs he can pull out before throwing that up. Oh, but unfortunate for him. A good Void Grip and then a shot underneath the shield to find Ninu. That's just well executed from the Knights.
And now Ricotta's got free range to wrap around. It's a double kill, but he's got 3 of them. Now 4 kills throughout the first roundabout of this game. A triple, an unofficial quad, or a delayed quad from the Knights. 5 streak for Ricotta. And that is a collapse of a team fight. Natus Vincere now fighting back, but with 90% already for the Knights, I don't see it.
I mean, just a completely different approach this time around, right? Which isn't necessarily a completely different approach. Their aggression just paid off this time with good Void Grip, being able to kind of thread the needle under that shield, starting off that kill. Perfect overall, but with Zarini going down, might cause a little more trouble for the Knights. They're going to have to stand stalwart with the 4 members they still have left.
Could eat my words here, Ninu. Seeing an opening to get involved and gets the kill on a Cuss Cutie as Phoenix finds a triple kill for himself. Hands raised. He said, hold on, my hand's too hot. I need to cool down, pause the game. Triple kill from Phoenix counters out the delayed quad from Ricotta. I said Pittsburgh Knights were going to run away and seal it up, but Natus Vincere, they answer back, and that's a good fight from them. little bit quicker on the respawns, though, or the Knights here. They'll be quicker to be able to maybe retake.
He just straight up hit him with the Ricotta's not the only one who can get a triple kill here and kill off anybody and everybody who might come in their way as he burned him through. But it's 99-24, and that's where things start to kind of maybe play against them. Respawns will come through for the Knights. They're going to be able to bring in some tanks, bring in the fight, but they're going to have to deal with Ninu now on this EV, who it might not be as easy of a target now that he's kind of in the flow of things, is already moving around, and might already be causing some trouble here for Ricotta as either a target who has to be looked at, or someone who, if you don't look at him, is going to break you down from behind.
Well, everything kind of snowballed from that nice little void grip that Cuscuti grabbed. He got the last shot onto Ninu right under the feet of Lazy. And then, of course, as you mentioned, that opens the door. Then Ricotta can wrap around the backside, find some kills into the squishies around the back line of Natus Vincere. And that got them 99%. But just enough time, just enough distance to get back onto that point for Na'Vi. And Phoenix, of course, one of the premier off-tanks in this league. If anyone's going to get a triple kill on the Ashe, it's going to be him.
And it was in tandem with a lot of damage from the rest of the team. Like, it's one of those things. He did a lot himself,
he did,
but you could see Ninu kind of hitting on the side. I mean, there's the point where he was focusing down Cuss, and Cuss was just kind of circling around that tree. And Phoenix just put an end to that. Stopped the fight as it was, but it's now 81%. As Na'Vi stand on the point.
Phoenix is drawing some attention. 3 members of the Knights all focused on the Ashe. 99-99. First point hangs in the balance of this final fight. Scout starts it off for Natus Vincere. Overtime expires. And one more time, Natus Vincere the one standing on the point at the end.
Being able to stand through. Gets a good kill onto Ricotta as well. Ninu might pay for it with his life. But I think keeping that amount of pressure up and specifically that area, that specific matchup going his way is going to be what might make them succeed at the end of the day for this one and maybe find themselves at 3-0. Good shots, though, coming from everybody on Na'Vi. As they're not going to get even staggered out here, they should be able to keep this payload moving.
That's unfortunate for the Knights. I mean, it looked like a big fight was starting to brew, and right as the point got captured, kills started to domino out of control, but Natus Vincere just standing a little bit strong, a little bit more strong. They had the health bars there. The Knights did not. As such, Natus Vincere strike first after a 99-99 first mid. The 5 streak burning away for the Fernando, looking for through time and space. I don't know if the Immortal countered it out so much, but he did use it regardless. Two with the opening kill here. Overpower connects onto Phoenix. Assert dominance does not have the legs. Down goes Faye.
He went for the long jump, and it looked for a second there like he was going to make it, and then plummeted to his death. Went down either way, but was able to maintain his ult. Always worth a try and keep that pressure going. Doesn't matter, the rest of the team kept it going for him. Mutu going to be able to pick up Zarini there for a little bit, and with 60 seconds left, they're coming through the last little choke point, the last archway. And this is where things tend to get hairy, but with this kind of positioning, with this kind of aggression that Navi's been commanding, they might still be able to control, especially with a good assert dominance.
Good shoulder bash. Assert dominance, as you mentioned, ready to go. Phoenix might look for it. He does indeed. Does not end up dropping down. Ricotta gets the kill. Must have been a void grip from Cuscuti to pull up the Ashe back in the air, because it's still at 100% charge. Natus Vincere maybe banking on that, because you can see the peel back from the team. 4 ultimates now ready, everything but the Immortal. Knights have Enlightenment and Dome Shield to defend with. 20 seconds left. Na'Vi knocking on the doorstep of a 2-0.
What I love right now is from Ricotta, you can see, like, yes, there's the counter matchup. Khan can just rip that shield out from underneath him. Ricotta's just going to go through that shield anytime Lazy puts it up, so he's going to be able to focus it and going to go around and chunk down anyone and everyone in his way. Lucky for him, or unlucky for him, I guess. Lucky for the rest of Na'Vi. There was only one member kind of lay way to the Sharks.
That was a good Dread Serpent, and Simsulu got caught in it. And Ninu was just kind of firing away, trying to chip down the Mave, and somehow Simsulu stayed alive. Some good healing, and then turned around and got the kill onto Ninu. So that's a big turnaround in that fight. Here's the Void Grip. It's like one of those vertical sliding doors. Here you go. Find your shot. Ricotta does it. The follow-up rotation is good.
Open pod bay doors, and this time it actually worked, and he was able to find the shot. It was everything you needed to be able to come through. Lazy said, yeah, absolutely, sir. And not the, well, I guess actually exactly the AI you would rather have commanding your ship as opposed to a HAL 9000. But either way, you're going to be perfectly fine. 1-1 tied up here. And Na'Vi, I mean, as long as that doesn't happen again, I expect Ninu to maybe go bigger early on in the round.
Is anyone on Na'Vi named Dave? I don't think so. Who would said no thank you to that one. Sir Dominance drops down Midnight as well. They connect with the overpower onto Phoenix one more time. Saved it. They actually didn't get the kill. Phoenix stays alive throughout it all. Ninu looking for one more shot. Double kill for the Eevee. Now through the Immortal gets a triple for Ninu. The Pittsburgh Knights are getting decimated, and Ninu wants some more.
I mean, he's absolutely tearing through him. If G-Bunny hadn't gone down from someone else's hand, I think Ninu was hunting for him. What a good shot
He
from
got all
that
5
one as
kills.
well. Being able to burn down anyone and everyone that he comes through. That was phenomenal movement, phenomenal aim coming down from him. And here's the weird thing, that only got him 54%.
Yeah.
That feels like a game-ending fight from him.
You'd think it was with the way that went. Ninu gets all 5 kills on the mid, 84%. Zerini trying to skate his way towards the point. Cutie trying to keep his backliners nice and healthy, but they're zoned out on that left-hand side. Zerini is dead as well. Overtime begins. Spunky might have just sealed up the point. A double kill for the healer. Point number 2 likely falling here for Natus Vincere. Ninu opens the door. Spunky fully commands that space, and Natus Vincere grab their second.
And immediately get aggressive. Ninu already pushed forward up, so he will be able to kind of come through. 9-4 right now after that last little bout of kills for him. So a lot of control that has fallen into his hands. Maybe trying to save Mutu here. Not going to be in time for it, but should be able to get revenge at least for his carry over there. And keeping him alive, keeping him moving. Mainly making sure that that payload doesn't stop for anything.
I mean, if you look at Natus Vincere, they've kind of lived and died by Ninu. I mean, second damage in the game for Mutu, so he's certainly putting his mark as well. But it almost requires a massive effort from the Eevee to push them over that edge. Mutu definitely hitting his shots. Will look to come alive a little bit further as the payload approaches, trying to make it 3 points and maybe 3 wins in the set. Another assert dominance from Phoenix. Could seal this one up. Dashes in. Simsalou just found himself a little bit of death. I'm not sure he meant to do it. If he did, all he did was kill himself off. Assert dominance from Phoenix could begin here. Shoulder bash into Zerini. Ricotta comes to the aid, though. In the meantime, you got Eevee tearing your backline apart. Another triple?
Only another triple. I mean, what? Ninu, come on. No, yeah, he's going to be able to come through, burn him down, go up to the balcony, cause some trouble. The payload's knocking on the door.
Ninu!
Kill. And he's winning this game for his team.
That's a smile right there. He knows it. Gets all 5 in the mid, gets 4 there to seal up that payload push. He's looking good on this Eevee right here. Natus Vincere with a commanding lead on Ascension Peak.
And just I don't even know what to call it. The presence of mind that he was able to keep for himself here. I mean, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected. Maeve had gotten out. Well,
this one right here.
He thought Maeve had gotten out. Simsalou felt safe up there.
That is nuts.
And it turns out no one was safe. That was a very clean shot. 13, 5, and 6. He predicted everyone. He nailed every shot he needed to hit. And he caused a lot of trouble. And it goes back to saying, if they don't kill him off at the beginning of the round, then expect more trouble from this Eevee.
I was thinking, after watching Eevee 1v1 King of the Ring, we'd have a clear understanding of how those fights work. That's still just too much brain to hand coordination all happening at once. And
30,000 IQ.
Yeah, it's hard to follow. Cutie grabs himself a kill through time and space, still ready. Mutu now going toe-to-toe with Simsalou. One more shot from the Cassie. Finds 1, finds 2. Only death awaits for Ninu, though. That's how you got to deal with it, I guess. All collapse. Fast cap for the Pittsburgh Knights. Approaches 50% on the point. Overpowered, just wide from G-Bunny. Natus Vincere, Immortal, assert dominance, ready for the retake.
Through time and space, absolutely available in the event that he gets a good lineup here for Cuss. Sir Dominant's going to slam down, get a good stun onto the support as well, and that should be a kill. And Ninu's already on a tear with 2.
Yeah, wouldn't you guess it, Ninu has a double kill already yet again. Now in the back line, Simsaloo is trying to put an end to the tear that Eevee has brought upon their team. Lazy helps get the kill onto Zarini. Just going to stagger himself out, I think.
Oh, no. I don't know if that was intended or not from Simsy, but he went off the map.
Yeah.
No one killed him. He just, the good
I was
old-fashioned
waiting
jumped
for
off.
the kill feed to pop up. I figured he was trying to stagger himself. I saw him slide off the side, but nobody got kill credit. If nothing else, he's now back in the back line. Good mid-air shot from Rakata. Says no more Ninu. Through time and space, just wide. Immortal counters it out. The fight now commencing. Zarini in a bad spot. Void Grip picks up one. Spunky's trying to keep himself and his team alive. Simsaloo dashing in. Lazy's got a lot of eyes turned on him, though. This could be a good area for Phoenix to get involved. Double kinetic burst. Blast back. Simsaloo gets Void Gripped up into the air. Shoulder bash keeps him alive. Natus Vincere at 90%. They're starting to run away with this one.
Ninu's back. Everyone's low. This is exactly what he wants. This is his playing field, and everyone on the Knights is his toys.
And the front line sets it up. The back line knocks it down. Lazy with a nice double and 8 streak. This may be where he's going to end this one. Make it 9 and make it 3 for Na'Vi.
I mean, that one was clean. It's getting cleaner as time goes on. Bright Marsh was maybe a little bit more kind of in their favor, but it felt like there was a lot of bite back from the Knights. That one, first point fight, toss it up in the air, but the minute the Knights start to go down in it, it shifts back in favor of Na'Vi. Ninu, second round, difference maker, hands down with that. The Eevee blew things out of the water, and I just don't think the Knights were prepared to deal with it. They had the right arsenal to do it. They had everything to lock her down. Ninu just outplayed them every step of the way.
Yeah, there's only so much you can really prepare for. Like an unofficial penta really is a double and then a triple for Ninu. Not something that you
wasn't
can
on
really,
the checklist.
Yeah, right. All right, guys, here's what Ninu's going to do. He's going to come into this fight. He's going to wipe all of us, and then we're going to fight back and win. Definitely not what the Knights were planning on, but it's what happened. Na'Vi go up 3-0, a chance to end it in just a minute.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, guys, it's looking a lot like set one already with a 3-0 lead for Na'Vi. SSG had the same way, 3-0 already at this point in the game. At this point, the only difference is, or at least where it will differentiate, is whether PK can actually sort of make this comeback. They can have the reverse sweep. We always talk about it's never happened before. Or if they can really just close this out with a 4-0.
I think that last map looked a little bit almost too dominant for that with the DPS performances coming out from Na'Vi. Normally I like to highlight the tanks for that team in general, but they were just firing on all cylinders. So tough for them to do anything. Just completely overwhelmed, I think, by the positioning from Na'Vi.
Yeah, I think it was looking a little bit questionable towards the end, at least in the very last round, where I was like, okay, well, nice that they can end up making this work, and then it was like they just started falling one after the other after the other. And it was too much for them to deal with eventually. Like, once Cassie got those records, when she came online, it was a lot harder for Zarini to stand there, G-Bunny to stand there. And the man Ninu, once again, we mentioned him before already, but I feel like he has had such dominant performances this go-around, this set, that we can't not talk about him again.
Yeah, 16-7 for him being all over the Knights backline and all over the Knights tanks in general, just able to kind of walk around. And you can tell how they were just playing aggressive and kind of just ignoring Zarini. I mean, Zarini 2-10 just because they deal with somebody else, then the rest of Knights back up, and Zarini's like, guess I'll die on point. I mean, I'm not getting out. So it just ended up kind of snowballing, making things a lot worse for him and making things look even better for Na'Vi. Again, though, Ninu all over the place. I mean, I saw chat kind of popping off about how he was doing and just getting full aces on mid fights. Yeah, getting aces on some of these mid fights, just finding all the kills that they need. And Mutu played so safe, and it really gave so much room up for Ninu.
I mean, literally, it's a matter of the fact that he's had delayed pentas in that game. He's had triple kills. He's had delayed quadra kills in that game as well. And just I'm really trying to find a way to phrase how good he's been playing, not only this set, but really.
He was definitely a little slow to start with Na'Vi, I would say, and he's definitely kind of coming to his own with the roster, feeling a lot more comfortable. This is more similar to almost the online VP rookie performance that he had, I think, in that early season, when we were just like, wow, who is this guy? And now we know. Yeah. It's Ninu, and he's here to stay. That was really tough for, I think, Knights, that they need to recuperate something. I think they're almost feeling a little lost. I'm saying that purely on the map pick.
Right.
Because, again, they went to a map that's similar to both of the maps they banned, which either means that they're not comfortable on that, or they think that Na'Vi are strong on it, and they went there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, once again, they went to such a peak. It's a map you typically see banned. They went for it regardless of the fact. And on this Game 4 map, we're going to be heading to Stone Keep, a map a lot more teams are familiar with and have played on here quite a bit.
You can play a lot of things on Stone Keep. There's a couple different ways to play. Both of the stone maps very flexible in that sense. Church holds I personally prefer. I think they're a little more consistent of a way to play on this map, being able to lock them into the high ground, as some teams kind of get baited into that side of the map. I would say baited into holding those and getting locked into the chokes. Speaking of getting locked in and out of chokes, Willow, the first ban for Knights, very, very strong at doing that specifically. So good to have her, I think, off the field for Knights. Again, like I said earlier, following their own advice.
Right, yeah. Makoa is being banned on Navi's side, at least. Knights in this case, once again, are really considering who they might try and ban. Once again, Barrick, they have to get rid of that. Don't want Lazy on it. Don't want him to be able to control the space he's been controlling when they've allowed him to actually get through. Na'Vi on this side, the Penguin being that very prominent mascot for not only Phoenix, but for the rest of Na'Vi. Clearly, it's working. Already up 3-0. They're trying to see who they're going to go for. And of course, it's going to be Alice.
Yeah, I think some second pick teams should
trespass
start, I think, being more willing to ban something else just to see kind of what goes through, and then maybe leave both open, play around it. Na'Vi especially, considering they have Phoenix on their side, and they're going to win a lot of those trades. Knights, I like this start. I like the adaptation here. They're saying, hey, man, we're losing in the point fight. Let's give ourselves as big of an advantage as we can. So Inara, after the Barrack ban, kind of just monopolizes the point tanks onto their side. Cassie is an answer, though.
Right.
That's big. Overpower is really good at winning, at immediately getting a pick onto the strongest target on the map. And Cassie, big game, is pretty much the historical, I'd say, counter towards those high health pool tanks like Inara. Just one mark of disengage can kind of just melt straight through the Earthing Guard.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about it a little bit before. You'd even mentioned it, too. You were like, okay, well, I'm glad they went for this character instead of the Inara, specifically when they had Cassie on their side. Yeah. Because you had brought up the fact that big game was such a hard thing for a lot of these very high health pool frontliners to deal with. Inara being one of the ones that gets bullied the absolute most in this case. Mike, being really, really deep in thought here, Maltama.
Which is funny because he does nothing in draft. I actually was talking about this before. I find it really funny that he actually goes into the booth every round because he's just there for moral support. He just walks like, great job, guys. And then he puts his ear pods in, sits in the corner on his phone. They pick, he's like, oh, I have to leave now? All right, goodbye, guys.
Yeah, all right, see ya. Thanks.
But it's honestly, it's the spirit. There it is, ear pods in, phone probably in the other hand being looked at. But it's really the emotional support from Mike that he brings to Na'Vi that definitely helped them out in some of those situations.
Cassie, Eevee on Navi's side at least. I mean, they're really, of course they have another character that they can pick, but Eevee is being hovered in this case. Yep. So they're really trying to figure out what it is that they might try and opt to pick here on their side. Of course, they can always pick another frontliner. Barrick is gone off the board, but it looks like they're going to try and go for a triple DPS in this case.
Good night.
Just answering you in the chat, Mike. I know that you're very important. for the Navi spiritual thing. I know it's a big deal. I'm just letting the people know about what you bring to Navi for the draft.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Cassie, Maeve and Genos, the next 2 picks for Navi. Cassie Maeve, very flexible, double backline, so it is a little bit baity. And that's kind of a good pick, I'd say, into the Ashe, being able to kind of kite them in and punish some of the aggression. It really does kind of do something good, I would say, against the Ashe, but Strix not so much. Scout's going to be good at finding the Strix in some of those more chaotic fights for Na'Vi, but Strix should be pretty solid into the Maeve, into the Genos, and he's going to be great at burning through Khan's shield. Yeah, I mean, Genos, once again, being able to duel one-on-one, he's able to do a lot. Luminary buff is actually going to be a... It's really going to be hard for them to be able to try and have these one-on-one fights. Knights, of course, in this case, Strix is going to be able to be a very prominent target here. And Zen, very interesting on Stone Keep. We've seen it before, but tell me why not BK? Why not try and control that keep? Why not try and be able to control those chokes? This, to me, says aggressive from the high ground.
Okay.
Because BK, he can do it, but it's a lot more like think about the arc of their movement. This is kind of a specific thing, but think about the arc of their movement, right? BK, he poppies in, it's like up and down. It's never like a straight line. When Knights want to dive, if they have Zin and Ashe, they're on you.
Right. Exactly.
You don't have a choice in the matter. You can't really stop the Zin from whirling into you from high ground.
Like
so
it
kind of says to me that Knights are going to hold that high ground, maybe have the Inara contest point a little bit, wait, boom, they're going to move straight across into them with Ashe and Zin and try to find a pick. Because there's quite a few squishies, I think, that they could get on. Cassie, Genos, if they can find either of them out of position, that Ashe Zin dive could work.
I mean, they have the Fernando. They locked it in last in this case. And I guess, Kresnik, I'm just really trying to think about what these comps are actually going to be able to how they're going to be able to fight, how they're going to be able to show their stuff in this case. Game 4, this could be the last one. Na'Vi looking really strong already. We're going to throw it right down to the casters and just show them.
Na'Vi are looking good. Knights, though, they throw a little bit of a curveball into the mix, Gore. I mean, Strix on Stone Keep, not that surprising. We've seen the snipers. We've seen Strix more specifically. He's been banned out a good bit of today. But the Zin, that's a big difference maker, maybe, for the Knights here. And they're going to have to lean on that one to try to turn things around.
I'll be honest, not sure I can remember the last time I got to see a Zin. Like, he just comes through kind of sporadically nowadays.
When was he changed?
We'll have to see. I mean, a long time ago.
There you go.
He's been picked up.
You're right.
That was
been picked
early
recently.
this year.
You're right.
Was when the change came through. But he's been kind of picked up off and on, depending on the player, depending on the team. We've seen him be successful. Right? We've seen him fail. That's just going to be the question for the Knights. Who's going to show up with it today? It's Simsaloo on it, which to me means it's more likely to be successful. I don't know why, but just Simsaloo on Zen gives me good vibes, good memories of seeing him on that.
Yeah, it doesn't give you bad, it doesn't give you like bad vibes or anything.
Yeah.
But it's forced back, at least at the start of this game. This is a matchup to keep your eyes on. Mutu on the flank with Simsaloo on the Zin. A couple good daggers into Ricotta, force him down. Natus Vincere opting for church side, whereas Keep goes over to the Knights. And Simsaloo with a big flank. Couldn't catch a couple shots here. Lazy, first blood onto the point tank of the Pittsburgh Knights. That's going to open up the door, and Mutu is going to walk right on through.
We're going to have to see how exactly they are able to handle not only that, but where the Zin is going. I've seen a lot of these shots kind of skirting the issue, not hitting directly where they want to. And right there, Ninu's going to be able to take him down from Eevee all the way over to Cassie. Very different play style, but still finding the kills.
At 87, now 90% shots to the back of Spunky. Could not have come a moment sooner. Flashbang down to the low ground as the Knights try to get back onto this point. Good stun from Cuss Cutie. Drops Phoenix down to the low ground. Lazy's able to trade out with Ricotta, though. So holding things down, and low keep side might have some good cleave damage here. Forced into the pillow, forced around the corner as well. 72% for the Pittsburgh Knights. So it looks like Na'Vi are going to maybe run away with it, but a good stall out and a good retake.
93% picked up for Na'Vi, and now tied by the Knights here. So both teams going to be trying to fight for that last 7%. It's going to be the Knights that get up to 99 first. But Mutu's the first one to find a kill, looking for a double, but not going to be able to find it.
Ricotta comes to the saving grace of Simsaloo, but only just buys him some time. Ninu, a double kill, seals up this mid. One for Spunky as well. Na'Vi on the board first.
Pretty sure Ricotta just landed on top of Lazy's head, and Lazy was like having that moment of like, I heard Strix, where is he? Standing on top of him. Was able to find him, he did jump off very shortly after. But it is up to them. It was actually up to that Strix to try and hold on to it as best he could. Couldn't quite get the point. Can't 1v4 everybody every day. And so this time around, Rakata's going to take the L. The point's going to go to the way of Na'Vi, and they're already off to a good start. Good void grip from Spunky, good control onto G-Bunny, and separation from the Knights as well. I mean, that assert dominance is going to get you some ground, and you might not have to back off, but it's not going to buy you much else.
There's a Dread Serpent used as well. I mean, this is the Knights saying we want to make our mark on this defense right now. We're going to try to force them all the way back into their base and then not give up any of that ground, and if nothing else, Na'Vi have done an okay job of keeping themselves in this one. The trades have not fully forced them back. They haven't used any of their ults just yet. They could start to volley off some and push this one through.
Dagger's not connecting quite where they wanted to, but it doesn't matter. Mutu has plenty of targets to burn through. A minute and a half left. I mean, yeah, dumping all your ults screams, stop here.
Right.
Like, the buck stops with us now. And now it's still moving forward, and you have to wonder, where did we use those? Luckily, minute 15, as long as you can hold this out through the archway, which is the standard choke point, you should be able to get some decent charge back on those, but kind of depends more on Mutu and Ninu right now. They're kind of picking on this Ashe more than anything, just dealing with her, I mean, the good old-fashioned way. It's not anything fancy. It's not crazy EV movement that we saw last map. It's just, I'm going to shoot you till you're dead.
They've been doing that dance throughout this entire game. Lazy on the Fernando, starting to make his mark. Simsalou gets the kill with his dying breath as Spunky gets that one. Cuscuti just trying to go toe-to-toe with Lazy here. Payload moving forward. It's just Cuscuti who's alive here. Rakata's going to spawn out as well. Fernando shield buying a lot of space. They're going to try to kill Lazy. They at least get the shield down. Ninu gets the kill onto G-Bunny, who's dropping down to try to contest. Now it's Simsalou who gets to try to do his best, but a double kill from Ninu. Might have sealed up this point. Forced to dodge, roll backwards. Too much damage from the high ground, but you're all staggered out. It's a 5 versus 3. Natus Vincere looking great right now, and they make it 2.
That was that moment. They were trying to buy time, anything and everything they could to just get Zarini down there. And then Zarini ended up in just an unfortunately difficult scenario. You're in Inara, your support's having trouble because he's getting bullied by a Fernando. At that point, I think 2 of your DPS are dead, and you have to stand there and try to defend this for the last 30 seconds that you are able to. Not going to look good for them. So the Knights end up, losing that one as Zarini gets melted down. But a lot of interesting little intricacies that happen throughout that round. Na'Vi kind of getting the better end of all of them, but good moments from the Knights showcasing that they're still here to fight. The slash line's not going their way, though. Point control not going their way. Ninu is just on a different level right now. So accompanying him is Lazy.
The front lines for the Knights have just not. They have just straight up not had a good time, bro, in this game, and they are very negative for it. Ninu and the rest of the front lines of Na'Vi are doing the damage, getting the kill. Simsalou with the opening kill onto Cassie, at least get some space. Spunky's able to turn around and find the kill as well. Rakata, just one more shot to Mutu. Into stealth he goes. Midnight, a little bit of stealth as well for Natus Vincere. Knows now where the Strix is. There's the daggers into the back end. And a very split fight, but Natus Vincere comes out on top.
And I like how Rakata was approaching that Midnight, where he's just like, I'm going to shoot where I think you're most likely to come from, and just hope that you come from that direction. Did not expect, though, Maeve to kind of Goomba stomp him, jump down from the head, and find him that way. And so Na'Vi now up 63. Simsalou. So far, Xin, I mean, we've already said it, but his ult, not necessarily known for being the best ult in the game, not as impactful as it could be. And these Yomi strikes are not finding a home.
Their dominance does find a home, though, so G-Bunny forces some space in the front lines of Natus Vincere, so 99% for Na'Vi is not going to turn to 100 just yet. They were winning the effective trades. Ninu, another kill onto Zarini. You need one more shot onto Phoenix. He's going to dash in and try to find it, but Ninu says no way. Natus Vincere now with 3, looking to make it 4 and looking to end this set 4-0.
Good shots from Ninu. Everyone already from the Knights locked up in their base, and this is pretty much the exact start you would want. No Immortal available. Scout about to come up. But they have an Overpower. They have a 3-time in space. Soon enough, they'll have a Midnight. All of those can help you win a fight, and all of those could maybe help this payload round that final corner and kind of finish that push in the courtyard as they fully find maybe that transition.
Ricotta's kind of melded into the shadows a little bit in this one. You know, you pick the Strix for these big flashy executes. The performances are good.
Wow.
Speaking of good, that through time and space falls under that category. As well as a flashbang used from Ricotta to try to stall out Natus Vincere. Doesn't find much. Payload's still moving.
Does not feel like a likely target, I'll be honest. Like, of all the people for that to connect on, I would not have guessed Xin to die to it.
Yeah.
I probably would have been Strix Moldamba first, although both, well, Moldamba using an appropriate slither could very easily just dodge that damage. Being able to land on it, no billow up for Simzy through that, and immediately he comes back and dies again. The Xin feels like it was a kind of maybe on limb pick, see what we can do with it. And as much as I think it has its prowess, it is not quite showcasing in this game.
Mutu and Ninu have just traded pop-off performances. Lazy's going to take up that high ground. Spitting image of last game. One Fernando seemingly against the world. Dread Serpent up from the high ground down to the low ground. Allows Zarini to finally open up the killing on the Lazy, but Ricotta catches one too many bolts. A double kill from Ninu as he gets zoned out by the wall. Overpower onto Zarini. Front line's gone for the Pittsburgh Knights until G-Bunny's able to drop down, gets the shoulder bash. Assert dominance, gets countered out. Now they're truly gone. Natus Vincere make it 4.
That's huge for them. Not only being able to find the 4-0 in the set, but winning the last one as a 4-0. I mean, the first map, we get a very lengthy Frog Isle to come down from them. The Knights, I think, adjust appropriately. It just comes down to, well, one thing and one thing only, and that is that you cannot factor in, even when you're drafting, when you're scrimming, Ninu having the performance he did on Ascension Peak, Mutu having the performance he just had on Stone Keep. Those two things really, I think, built a wall that the Knights just could not hurdle.
And I'm interested, and I'm sure we'll ask them about this post-game, the kind of flex. Last week we saw Phoenix really the one on that Fernando, playing it aggressively, playing it in the off-tank style. Today was all Lazy, and Lazy kind of similarly filled that role, but traditionally their point tank, they felt okay to pair it with something like an Ashe and the other off-tank. So a little bit of a different twist on what we saw at least last week with the Fernando here for Natus Vincere, and it worked out for him.
I mean, being able to kind of click exactly the way they want, using the shield the way they need to, cooldowns working for them, and Immortal was a lifesaver literally throughout several of those moments in that game.
Yeah, I don't think anything was going against Na'Vi here today. At least the scoreline would suggest that 4-0 for them. Send it back to the desk.
Thank you for throwing it back to us, guys. Ninu proving once again that he's a little bit more than just your average PPL player. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's definitely doing his thing, as well as the rest of Natus Vincere. Already 4-0 up against Pittsburgh Knights. I mean, it was a very, very quick set. Yep. They made it quick, and they definitely were not here to mess around at all.
I thought the Knights had a good concept with the draft, but I think Na'Vi were just too ready for it. I think they could have maybe been a little bit more aggressive, but Na'Vi, I mean, I saw what they were going to do, and so did Na'Vi. They were ready for the aggression. I mean, Spunky able to out-damage Simsulu as the game went on. And I didn't think Simsy was doing that poorly. He was just being kept out of ranges where he could really reliably land shots.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're taking a look at the slash lines here, of course. Ricotta still did pretty well, about 75K, but Simsy 4-11, 1-4, 5-7, 4-9, 2-9 for G-Bunny. It was just a rough set all around for the Pittsburgh Knights. Ninu 14-4, proving he is truly Nuts.
Yeah, he really was rotating all over the place. But honestly, what I want to talk about here a little bit is Lazy and how he was performing even after the Barrack ban coming in from the Knights. Lazy said, "Well, we don't really care." Yep. I mean, did you get the memo? Nando's good now. Yeah. I don't know if you were there for the patch notes, but we're pretty good with this character, and it showed. I mean, Lazy sustaining really well. One of the bigger things about the kind of micro of Nando that you have to know now, and I think Lazy was utilizing perfectly. Shield, you dash, then you shield. Heat transfer gets you another dash. Use that to get into a place where you're safe. Your formidable triggers probably during all of that. Nando has a lot of sustain. You kind of have to follow that same pattern every single time, but it's really good at keeping him alive. A lot of mobility that you wouldn't really expect from a character that has a short little dash forward. Yeah. A 2-meter sprint, more or less, to keep himself mobile. But you can, if you chain the cooldowns just right, you can be really hard to pin down.
I mean, Fernando being able to clear that 2-meter sprint at an extremely fast pace, the fastest 2-meter sprint you'll ever see in this case. I mean, Fernando, once again, ends up being the prominent pick here, the one it is that we chose to highlight because of how powerful, or really how they're showing his potential slowly over time. After this patch has just ended up being changed. Just like we all know, Cuss said it himself, Willow's pretty much the new Torval. We're seeing Fernando rise back up to that very, very strong point tank spot that we were in before. In this case, though, I do believe that we're about to go to an interview with both Natus Vincere. I'm not sure if that's.
I would assume it would be the team that won. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We're not sure exactly who.
Natus
but
PK, actually.
honestly, they're looking great. They're looking great, honestly, like the ex-world champions, and like they could potentially repeat as we come closer and closer to HRX.
Yeah. We're gonna go to an interview with both Lazy and Phoenix standing by.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Big 4-0 for Navi here today. And when you guys are coming back here, sitting down, we kind of continued our Fernando conversation. Today, though, last week it was a lot of you, Phoenix, on the Fernando. Today, Lazy, you picked up that mantle. How was it getting back into the Fernando driver's seat?
It was pretty good to be back on the Fernando. The idea was mainly behind Phoenix, his idea with the build in itself, and also like how to actually utilize it on point. And we also did get to practice quite a bit, and we had actually some really good results. So we also wanted to like take it on today, especially on Ascension. Like it's one of his strongest maps because he can literally hide behind any corner and just get his cooldown ready every single time.
Well, speaking of Ascension, the first round didn't quite start, I think, the way you had wanted it to. There was a really good sequence of kills from Ricotta. And then the rest of the game, it kind of felt like Ninu just went to a different level. I don't know what focus happened, what was going on, but how did that feel in comms? Like, once he started having that performance, was everyone just kind of lifted up?
Ninu is an extremely talented player, and the only thing he lacked was competitive experience. Even back in Virtus Pro, like I noticed that he didn't have like the proper communication rules and proper setup and rollouts on maps, mid fights, etc. And we're getting more and more in depth about it, and he's picking up more and more. And just his raw skill, as soon as he doesn't have to think about it anymore, his raw skill comes out, and he just starts killing everyone.
Do you think there's still ground to improve with Ninu? Because this is a scary Natus Vincere right now. That's a fast 4-0 over one of the quicker improving teams in our league in the Knights. Do you think there's still ground for you guys to get better?
Yes.
I mean, looking at the games, they were actually pretty close as well. Like the first Bright March, they kind of like they could actually push it in, but in our died and they didn't push it in. So they did a lot of mistakes, and we also did. So there's a lot to improve on.
This is, I think, one of those areas. It's weird to think of you guys, I mean, again, a team that has kind of climbed to the top. 2 members, I guess, Phoenix, since the last time you were able to get the championship. But you're looking at this right now. You say there's room to improve, but you're looking incredible. You guys looking to potentially get another win?
Of course, that's always the goal. And I think we're set up for success. And as long as we keep doing what we're doing and slowly building up, never stop improving, and we'll make it.
Well, congratulations once again. It's a nice 4-0 against the Knights to kind of end your day here. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the Paladins Premier League.